Chapter 1740. The prison bullies were carried into the storage room. They said that they did not have guns, so they did not dare to rebel against a group of armed soldiers. Captain who told them about his encounter with them. When the monsters appeared, they were eating in the cafeteria of Zone D. These people ran quickly and hid in the storage room of the cafeteria. When they entered, they happened to run into them. He brought them back because they said that they did not see any of the prisoners turn into monsters. The monsters ate the prisoners directly. This was different from the situation in Zone F. This strange phenomenon aroused everyone's suspicion. The prisoners did not turn into monsters? Then why did the people in Zone F change? Colonel G. Everyone's gaze fell on Jiang. Of all the people present, he knew the most. Normally, he could enter and leave Zone 3, so what was going on? Colonel G. Why didn't the people in other zones get assimilated by the monsters, but the people in Zone F did? Jiang also did not know why the people in Zone F were assimilated by the monsters. He was not one of the researchers. Now, those researchers had probably been assimilated by the monsters. Zone 3 was the first to suffer. Not a single person escaped. Jiang could not say anything. Everyone was talking at once, but they could not come up with anything. They ate and rested with unease. The sky outside gradually darkened. The whole prison fell into darkness. There was no light, no sound, only the smell of blood carried by the wind. It was like an abandoned battlefield. Jiang leaned against the window of the storage room and looked at the building in the distance. The lit cigarette exposed his position. The flickering light was like a firefly. The man's tall figure looked cold. Shishang hugged him from behind. "What are you thinking about? Do you still remember the accident when I sent you guys out for the first time?" Shishang turned to face him and sat on the windowsill. "I remember. What's wrong?" Jiang took a step forward and hugged Shishang. "I suspect that the people in Zone F were assimilated by the monsters because of that accident. At the time, the ventilation system malfunctioned, and the alarm mistakenly thought that something had invaded. After the alarm was cleared, the ventilation system was reactivated, and the ventilation system in Zone F was reconnected. You suspect that it was because of the gas." Jiang lowered his head and reached out to tap the tip of her nose. She was so smart that she didn't need to waste any effort to explain. "It's not impossible," Shishang said in a low voice. "But what's the point of pursuing this now? No matter what the reason is, Area F has already fallen." "No." Jiang hugged her tightly. "If someone left Area F, then outside, what kind of scene would it be? These monsters were not easy to kill, and it was not necessarily because of gas assimilation. They might have other methods. Once they went outside, what terrible things would happen outside? The first to go out was the military, so the first to suffer would be the military. Once the military was gone, what would happen to the ordinary people? Why are you so worried? Is there anyone you care about outside?" Shishang did not care. Even if everyone in the world died, it had nothing to do with her. "No, you're the only one I care about in my entire life." Shishang took away the cigarette in his hand, wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him down. Jiang followed her movements and pressed his soft lips against hers. With her unique scent and taste, he was captivated and lost in it. Jiang pressed her against the window and kissed her. He tasted her with the most sincere heart and imprinted her every reaction in the bottom of his heart. "I want you," Jiang whispered in her ear, but did not take any further action. He couldn't have her here. Although this place was isolated from the rest of the world, as long as the people on the other side came over, they would still find out. Her beauty could only be appreciated by him alone. Jiang pressed on her body and panted slightly, calming his restless desire. When you liked someone, you couldn't help but want to be close to her. You wanted to do the most intimate things with her. This was not shameful, it was normal behavior. "Colonel G." The sound of footsteps was getting closer and closer. It seemed that the person was in a hurry. Jiang stood up straight, shielded Shishang behind him, and turned to look in the direction of the sound. Fortunately, he held back. A figure appeared in the darkness, standing in the distance and not coming over. "Colonel G, come down and take a look. We found something." "Okay." Ji Ang's voice was still a little hoarse. Seeing that Ji Ang didn't move, the person hesitated and turned to leave. Ji Ang turned to look at the person behind him, but the latter was looking outside. She had even taken out her iron sword. He followed her gaze, but before he could see what it was, he was pushed down by someone. He fell to the ground with a thud and rolled to the side. In the next second, he was pulled up. There was a monster lying in the place where they had been standing. Its upper body had broken through the glass and its hands were waving in the air. If they had been standing there just now, they would have been attacked. Ji Ang's heart sank. He didn't sense any danger at all. The monster squeezed through the glass and tried to climb in from outside. Shi Shang stepped forward and kicked it out of the window before it exploded. In an instant, there was a crashing sound outside the window. The monster was also attacking below. Screams and gunshots were incessant. Shi Shang pulled Ji Ang out of the window. The sudden fall made Ji Ang's heart skip a beat. But soon, the feeling of falling disappeared. He stepped on something, and his whole body flew up. The building below became smaller and smaller. Ji Ang looked down and then looked at the empty space below. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "How many more surprises are you going to give me?" "More than you can imagine." Ji Ang was speechless for a moment. The building below was surrounded by monsters. From time to time, there were gunshots, and the monsters' ferocious bodies were reflected. These monsters approached silently, and no one noticed. "Tut tut tut! Over here!" Someone on the wall of Zone D fired a shot to provide support. The people who had already rushed out quickly ran over there and climbed up to the roof using the rope that the other party had put down. There were many people on the roof, but most of them were wearing prisoner clothes. Only a few of them were wearing prison guard clothes. They were led by Ling Yun and Min Dong. "Let's go." Min Dong saw the monsters coming and turned to leave. "There's someone else." Captain Hu pointed at the people running towards them. "It's too late." Min Dong's voice was flat, as if he had no emotions. Ling Yun was a little hesitant. Min Dong glanced at her and ignored her. He went down to the roof. Ling Yun gritted her teeth and looked at the black shadow below. The monsters in the distance had given up on the building and were all chasing them. The number of monsters was terrifying. She gritted her teeth. "Retreat." "No, Colonel G hasn't come up yet." The people who came up with Captain Hu stood at the edge of the roof and looked at the black shadow below nervously. But when they got closer, they realized that it wasn't Ji Ang F***CK, we saved them out of kindness. "Let's go." These prisoners didn't want to die here. They quickly went down to the roof. Chapter 1741. Ling Yun. Someone called Ling Yun. "Captain Hu, let's go. It's too late." Ling Yun tugged at Captain Hu. "No, Colonel G. The monsters are coming. You will die if you stay here. Even if Colonel G is still alive, you won't be able to see him." Ling Yun said quickly. "Ling Yun, let them die if they want to. If you don't come over, we will lock the door." The prisoner urged Ling Yun. Ling Yun panicked. "Captain Hu." Shi Shang didn't want to go down, but Ji Ang insisted. Shi Shang had no choice but to bring him to the roof. Those who were about to leave were surprised and happy when they saw their colonel fall from the sky. Ling Yun's face turned ugly when she saw Shi Shang. "Why is she everywhere? Why is she everywhere?" Shi Shang gave Ling Yun an ambiguous smile. It was time to kill the female lead. "Let's go." Ling Yun asked them to go down. Shi Shang asked Ji Ang to stand at the back. He didn't want to go down. "Colonel G, let's go." Captain Hu shouted at Ji Ang, "You guys go down first." Ji Ang guessed that Shi Shang was going to do something and refused Captain Hu. At this moment, a monster climbed up, followed by a second and a third. The people at the door didn't care if they went in or not. They closed the door and the heavy metal door fell. Ling Yun was shocked. She rushed to the metal door and knocked on it. But it was too late. She heard layers of locks being locked. Shi Shang dragged her iron sword and walked towards the monsters. She slashed every monster that came at her. She was not afraid of being splashed with blood. Or rather, the blood did not splash on her at all. It was as if she had something protecting her. Everyone was dumbfounded. Was it really possible for a human to slash monsters at such a speed? Although there were a lot of monsters, they were gone once they died. So Shi Shang didn't take long to clear them out. The girl stepped on the blood on the ground and stood at the edge of the roof. She was like a general who came back from a bloodbath. She was full of killing intent. Shi Shang jumped down from the edge and walked to a place where there was no blood. He stuck the iron sword on the ground and opened his arms. Jiang hug. Everyone was speechless. Huh? What happened to being domineering? Why did you suddenly ask for a hug? Colonel, I don't think you would. Under everyone's horrified gaze, Jiang stepped forward and kissed her cheek, then carried her in his arms. Everyone. They never knew that their colonel could be so obedient. In the past, if anyone dared to talk to him like this, they would have been dragged out and shot. Ling Yun looked at the person on the other side of the door. She couldn't help but look at the sword on the ground. She swallowed her saliva and knocked hard on the door, asking the person inside to open the door. She knocked for a long time, but no one opened the door. About 5 minutes later, the door was opened and Min Dong came out. He looked at Ling Yun coldly. Ling Yun's heart shuddered for no reason. She glanced at the figure from the corner of her eyes and couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Min Dong had never been so gentle. Most of the time, his face was cold and his words were concise. He would do the same regardless of whether others listened to him or not. Min Dong bypassed Ling Yun and walked towards the Shi Shang. Min Dong. Ling Yun subconsciously pulled him back. Min Dong turned around expressionlessly. Ling Yun didn't know why, but she felt scared. She loosened her grip slightly. Min Dong pulled his arm back and walked towards the Shi Shang. The Shi Shang leaned on Ji Ang's shoulder and looked at the male lead strangely. What is this person doing here? Is he trying to get back at the female lead? No, he hasn't done anything to me yet. Why is he trying to get back at me? It can't be that the male lead has foresight and knows that I'm going to kill the female lead, so he's coming to kill me first? I'm so scared. Jiang narrowed his eyes and looked at Min Dong. He put the Shi Shang on the ground and held her with one hand. He took out his gun and pointed it at Min Dong. It's best if you don't come any closer. Min Dong paused. He was about 5 meters away from the Shi Shang. He said, I've seen you before. The Shi Shang rolled his eyes. We used to be neighbors. What's so strange about that? So? Min Dong frowned. This answer was probably different from what he wanted. To be precise, I've seen your mother. Oh, and then? The male lead wasn't human. If the origin of the original owner's mother wasn't simple, it wouldn't be strange if he had seen her before. Why don't you get to the point? The Shi Shang's reaction was too calm. Min Dong was silent for a while. Do you know why they want to catch you? Because I'm good-looking. Min Dong. No? Then they must be crazy. Who knew why those idiots wanted to catch her? The expression on Min Dong's face changed. He was probably angered by the Shi Shang. After a while he said, they've developed a way to let humans and other races evolve into a new species. The white wings on Min Dong's back suddenly spread out. They wrapped around his body. Like this. Oh my God. These wings grow on humans. How can they grow on humans? What the hell is going on? A pair of wings that grows on humans isn't an angel. The people behind him exclaimed at Min Dong's wings. Min Dong ignored them and continued to narrate in a monotonous tone. I was one of the experimental subjects. Everyone died except for me. He Jing felt that the experiment couldn't continue. He Jing is your mother's name. She suggested to the team to stop the experiment. Unfortunately, she was too weak alone. Min Dong paused. Although I survived, I didn't mutate. He Jing hid me, but not long after, wings grew on my back. The pain of growing a pair of wings was unimaginable. He Jing gave him medicine every day, but it couldn't stop the pain. Later, he was discovered, and He Jing was suspended from her job and locked up. The researchers were amazed at his magic and tried to find a way to successfully evolve from him. They didn't kill him, but they kept experimenting on him. Later, he saw He Jing again. He Jing was with a man, and she seemed to be very obedient. She started to take over his experiment. At that time, he was still young, so he didn't understand why He Jing was against it. That Shishang of mine hates He Jing. The man beside He Jing was very vicious. He had a strange temper, and his hobbies were even stranger. He would ask He Jing to take off her clothes when she was working and do that with her in front of the experiment. Sometimes, he would even make her do it with him while doing the experiment. At this point, Min Dong looked at Shishang. His meaning was obvious. You are the descendant of that man. Shishang, I don't know if I should curse you. Min Dong quickly retracted his gaze and continued. He Jing was tortured. Although it was humiliating, the determination in her eyes became stronger and stronger. It was so strong that he could feel it. He still remembered the last time she looked at him after that incident. Her compassion was filled with guilt. Chapter 1742. The incident that Min Dong was talking about was the July 15th incident. At that time, the entire F-zone was bombed. The current F-zone was rebuilt after that incident. During the July 15th incident, the man was killed by the explosion. He also managed to escape from that hellish place. That was the first time he used his wings. He fell several times before he finally flew out of the prison, into the air, and into the sea. He Jing's goal was to blow up the entire F-zone. However, the F-zone was so big that He Jing's explosives were not all ignited. As a result, many things were left behind. After the F-zone was rebuilt, the project still continued. He Jing entered the female prison with the help of someone and changed her name. She originally had the opportunity to abort the child in her belly, but she insisted on giving birth to it. When Min Dong found out about this, he did not understand why she wanted to keep the humiliation that man had inflicted on her. It was not until Shishang was taken away that he realized that He Jing had taken away something important. That was why the F-zone's experiments had been failing for so many years. And this thing was most likely related to her child. So, what was the purpose of saying so much? Min Dong looked at Shishang and took out a few folded papers. This is your medical report. Your heart rate is slower than normal people's because that heart does not belong to you. Shishang. What the F***ck? This heart did not belong to her. How was she still alive and kicking? Did she rely on her willpower? When they first discovered the outer space material, the first thing they discovered was that it could prolong aging and had strong healing powers. Your heart has been tampered with. There is something hidden in it. So, you want to cut me open and take out the thing inside? What kind of F***king plot was this? No. Min Dong looked straight at Shishang and spat out the words one by one. I want to have intercourse with you. Everyone present was silent. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you clearly. Say it again. Shishang held Jiang, who was about to make a move. He held Jiang's fingertips and comforted him gently. I want to have intercourse with you. Min Dong reached out and covered his chest. If I don't have intercourse with you, we will both die. Wait, I'm a little confused. Let I clear my head. The original owner's mother used to be in charge of the experimental project that came from outer space. They used human bodies for experiments. In the end, everyone died except for the male lead, Min Dong. After that, the original owner's mother bombed the F-zone and hid in the female prison to give birth to the original owner. However, she might have brought out some kind of amazing research results from the F-zone. That was why she was targeted. And now, the male lead was telling her that that thing was most likely hidden in her heart. And now, This male lead Darren was telling her that he had to have sex with her in order to maintain the lives of both of them. EXM. WTF. Are you F***king messing with me? Wasn't the male lead was the male lead of the female lead? Why does a cannon fodder like me get such treatment? Oh right, she had already died in the plot, so what was the meaning of this setting? Shi Shang looked up at the sky in melancholy. It's not even dawn yet. Why are you daydreaming already? Dawn is his god. Dawn's god, Min Dong. Ling Yun rushed over. She looked at Min Dong with an ugly expression. You. He wanted to do it with that woman? Min Dong ignored Ling Yun. He opened his arms and closed his eyes. No one knew what he was doing. However, Shi Shang had a strong feeling. Her heartbeat sped up. The scent of the person in front of her suddenly became alluring. Shi Shang grabbed Jiang and buried her body in his arms. She suppressed the urge to go over. Min Dong opened his eyes. Can you feel it? That substance was directly implanted into my body. That's why I was the only one who survived out of all the test subjects. It's like a kind of energy, but it's also like a kind of creature. There's a male and a female. When the two of them mate, new energy is produced. It's the energy that keeps us alive. Cold sweat appeared on Shi Shang's forehead. She grabbed Ji Ang's clothes and looked at the person in front of her. I thought you wanted to die. When encountering such a situation, the protagonist would usually want to die. However, he had such a terrifying thought. This was definitely **King collapse. I thought about it, but I couldn't die back then. Therefore, he didn't want to die anymore. Especially when he saw Shi Shang, his desire to die had completely disappeared. According to the plot, the original owner had died long ago. Therefore, Min Dong wouldn't have such thoughts. Are you okay? Jiang supported Shi Shang. Shi Shang shook her head. I'm fine. It was just a physical reaction. It wasn't enough to make her have any indescribable thoughts. She was implanted at about the same time as me. Her body will have problems soon. Min Dong looked at Jiang. If you don't want her to die, you have to promise me. Bang. Min Dong was answered with a gunshot. The bullet spun at high speed and pierced Min Dong's chest. Due to inertia, he took a step back and covered the bleeding area. He stated the truth coldly. I won't die. Is that so? Shi Shang straightened her body slightly and reached out to touch her slightly uncomfortable body. She scoffed coldly. Do you really think you're immortal? Your body is just better at healing than ordinary people. I have many ways to kill you. Can you do it? Min Dong seemed to have a well-thought-out plan. There's only one person I can't do it to. Unfortunately, you're not that person. Shi Shang picked up the iron sword from the ground and pointed it at the ground. She raised her chin and laughed arrogantly. You want to sleep with I? Do you think I is as easy to sleep with as a cabbage? Jiang didn't want to let go of Shi Shang, but Shi Shang's eyes made him let go. There was a voice in his heart that told him to trust him. Min Dong seemed to want to use the connection between their bodies to suppress Shi Shang. However, the moment he closed his eyes, the iron sword was already slashing at him. Min Dong spread his wings and flew to the other side of the rooftop. Shi Shang followed closely behind. The iron sword slashed at Min Dong wildly. Min Dong couldn't cope with the random attacks. F***CKU, you're so bad. Instead of sleeping with the female lead, you want to sleep with I. Why don't you go to heaven? I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Min Dong could only dodge with his wings. He couldn't fight back at all. Shi Shang forced him to the edge. Min Dong spread his wings and flew into the air. A black shadow jumped out from below and bit Min Dong's wings. He suddenly sank. Unable to maintain his balance, Min Dong fell in a straight line. Shi Shang leaned half of her body out and looked down. Min Dong had escaped from the monster and was flying up. Shi Shang took out an energy ball and threw it down. What are you doing? Stop it. Ling Yun had seen the power of the energy ball. She shouted and rushed over. Stop it, stop it. Shi Shang released her hand and the energy ball fell from her hand. She then turned to look at Ling Yun, who was blocked by Ji Ong. Why are you so nervous? It's not like you can blow it up. She could throw it, but couldn't Min Dong run away? He had wings. Unless he was a fool. Chapter 1743. Bang! There was an explosion, and a gust of wind rose from below. A few white feathers were blown up by the wind and landed on the edge of the rooftop. Ling Yun broke free from the other side and ran to the edge of the rooftop. Just as she ran, a pair of hands reached out from below and grabbed her neck, dragging her down. Shi Shang raised his eyebrows. You can't blame me for this. At the same time, a few monsters climbed up from the rooftop and surrounded them. Ah! The group at the edge was the first to suffer. They were grabbed by the monsters and thrown down. These monsters were getting smarter and smarter. They knew to kill people first before feeding. The people who came out with Min Dong ran down the stairs, but they soon came back. A large group of people rushed out at the same time. They were all prisoners in prison uniforms. They worked together to close the door, but it seemed like there were monsters chasing after them. After closing the door, everyone retreated to the center. They were surrounded by monsters. 16. 16. 16. Two loud screams came from the crowd. 36D and Li Beibei appeared in front of Shi Sheng. In a short time, 36D had lost a lot of weight. She looked haggard, and her body was stained with blood. Her prison uniform was torn in pieces, and he could see her naked body as she walked. 16, I knew you'd be fine. 36D dragged Li Beibei over excitedly. There was genuine concern in her eyes. 16 is so strong. Of course, she'll be fine. Li Beibei's eyes were red, and her voice was choked. She thought she would never see her again. She did not expect to see her here. Where's Pigtail? Shi Shang looked behind them, but he did not see Pigtail. 36D was silent. Li Beibei bit her lower lip. Pigtail is dead. This result was inevitable. She originally thought that all three of them would die, but she didn't expect that two of them would still be alive. This was already beyond her expectations. Since they were not dead, they were lucky. Stay by my side. Now was not the time to talk. 36D and Li Beibei understood that. They stood with the others and watched the monsters slowly climb up the rooftop. They were now trapped in a hunting ground. These monsters were ready to feast at any time. I don't want to die. I want to King die. I'd rather stay in prison until I'm old than be eaten by these disgusting things. Why did I have to be so unlucky? The cries of despair could not stop the monsters. The monsters began to attack. They seemed to know how to pick their targets and attack the weakest points first. The team was quickly dispersed. Shi Shang dragged Jiang and retreated to the side. 36D and Li Beibei followed her subconsciously. Shi Shang's legs suddenly went soft, and he collapsed into Ji Ang's arms. Jiang was shocked and hurriedly supported her. 16. 16. 36D and Li Beibei roared at the same time and surrounded the Shi Shang. Shi Shang wanted to jump down from the rooftop. She could feel something in her body stirring. It wanted to go down and join the thing that summoned her. What happened to you? 36D scanned Shi Shang from head to toe. She didn't see any injuries just now. How did she become like this all of a sudden? I'm fine. Shi Shang gritted his teeth and helped Jiang stand up. I'm going to kill him. Jiang's expression was unprecedentedly cold. His eyes were overflowing with murderous intent. The people around him could feel the terrifying pressure. No. Shi Shang grabbed him and said firmly, I won't let you out of my sight. She didn't want what happened in that world to happen again. Jiang met Shi Shang's gaze. He wanted to refute, but he couldn't say anything. He held Shi Shang's hand tightly. I'll take you with me. He had to kill that man. His woman must be his, from her body to her heart. Okay. Jiang carried Shi Shang in his arms. Shi Shang took out 2 folded talismans from her space and gave them to 36D and Li Bei Bei. She instructed them, find a chance to escape. That was all she could do. Whether they could survive or not would depend on their luck and ability. 16. What's wrong? Li Bei Bei cried anxiously. She grabbed Shi Shang's hand and wouldn't let go. Where are you going? 16. 36D stared blankly at Shi Shang. They had just met. How could they be separated again? Shi Shang pulled his hand back. Take care. Jiang carried Shi Shang and walked to the edge of the rooftop. Captain Hu and the others were some distance away. When they saw Jiang standing at the edge of the rooftop, it was too late to stop him. Colonel Ji. 16. Li Bei Bei and 36D wanted to chase after him, but a monster jumped over and blocked their way. When they retreated to a safe place, there was no one left on the rooftop. There were only ferocious monsters left. Shi Shang and Jiang landed on the rooftop. Strangely, the feeling suddenly disappeared. They couldn't feel the strange attraction anymore. Where do we go? Jiang asked Shi Shang. I don't know. Shi Shang rubbed his chest. He had a strange expression on his face. The feeling is gone. All the monsters were on the rooftop. The entire building was crawling with monsters. Everything below was clean except for the crater she created. There were no monsters at all. Shi Shang led Jiang in the direction she felt before. They went around the building and came to a black wall. There was a hole in the wall. It was dark inside and they couldn't see anything. There was a tunnel inside. It was all so dark. The screams outside were getting softer and softer until they couldn't be heard at all. Just as they walked through a passage, a faint voice could be heard. The voice was not unfamiliar to Shi Shang and Jiang. Shi Shang squeezed Jiang's hand tightly. The male lead and female lead sure are in a leisurely mood. They actually came here to do something when the battle outside is so fierce. Was it immoral for her to go in and kill them now? Damn, the retarded male lead wanted to sleep with her. Who cared if she was immoral? She would kill them first. After passing through a corridor, they soon arrived at an empty area. This should be the place where the food was stored in the cafeteria. There were many ingredients scattered on the ground. They must have been looted. At this time, Min Dong and Ling Yun were in the corner of the room. Min Dong's wings were wrapped around them. Other than the sound, they couldn't see anything. Shi Shang twisted his neck and let go of Jiang. He slashed at Min Dong's wings. Min Dong sensed danger. He hugged Ling Yun, wrapped her with his wings, and rolled to the side. The iron sword hit the ground and sparks flew. The sparks jumped and landed on a wet spot not far away. A big fire burned. The flame was so high that it almost burned Shi Shang's eyebrows. Damn! Which idiot had spilled the oil? Do you have a heart of virtue? What should I do when I'm here for a fight? Put out the fire with a fire extinguisher? There was oil everywhere. The flame burned very fast. In the blink of an eye, the dark space became bright. Min Dong and Shi Shang were separated by a line of fire. #hashtag begging for Wan Guan's votes today. #it's the last day of the month. Hurry up and vote. Don't leave any for future generations. Hurry. 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 Love you guys. Chapter 1744. Min Dong carried Ling Yun and quickly ran towards the stairs at the back. As he ran, Ling Yun made sounds that sounded like she was panting. Shi Shang couldn't imagine this position. He is so dedicated to fighting. Director, you must have made a mistake. Is he here to shoot an indescribable film? Host, if you continue to complain, he will disappear. Shi Shang sighed. I have to give them some time. I am a kind person. Forget it. If you are this kind of person, I will write my name backwards. Ziguo. This name. Get lost. Shi Shang rolled her eyes in her heart. Idiot buttface. Will I chase after him? Chase after him? I will go out and blow him up. I don't believe he can stay in there. Shi Shang and Ji Ang left the building and threw energy balls at the building. The building was blown up in an instant. The people on the other building were so scared that they forgot to deal with the monster. Shi Shang looked at the white figure in the distance. She was so angry that her teeth itched. Plot Sama, you're too biased. I have always been biased. The cannon fodder has never been favored. I am so sad. Shi Shang put Ji Ang in a safe place and chased after the white figure. Min Dong probably wanted to get rid of Shi Shang, so he was a little fast. The prison was getting smaller and smaller. Shi Shang drove the iron sword in front of him. Min Dong was forced to stop. His eyes were red. He said word by word, "You don't have to kill me if you don't want to mate with me. My death won't do you any good." Shi Shang squeezed out a smile. "I won't be at ease if you don't die. This is the male lead. Give him a fulcrum and he can lift the earth. Come on." Shi Shang rolled up his sleeves. "Either you die or I live." Min Dong. What's the difference? He looked at the person in his arms. He wrapped Ling Yun's clothes around her and dove down. Shi Shang followed closely. He put Ling Yun on the ground and flew up to meet Shi Shang. Just as they were about to collide, Shi Shang suddenly changed direction and flew towards Ling Yun. Min Dong was stunned for half a second in the air. Didn't he say he was going to fight him? Why did he go towards Ling Yun? Are you going to keep your word? Ling Yun didn't seem to have woken up from the extreme feeling. When she instinctively sensed the danger, it was already too late. She didn't have a weapon by her side, so she could only watch as the cold light of the iron sword fell. That sword gave people a very cold feeling. Even if he didn't touch it, he could still feel the fear brought by the cold air entering his body. Was he going to die? A pair of snow-white wings spread out in front of her. The iron sword slashed at the wings and blood splattered all over Ling Yun's face. She stared blankly at the wings that had been cut off by the iron sword and fell to the ground. Her eyes were bloodshot. Min Dong. Min Dong, are you all right? Min Dong, Min Dong. Ling Yun hurriedly covered Min Dong's wings, but the blood wouldn't stop. He was like an angel who was about to be stripped of his wings. Min Dong gritted his teeth and carried Ling Yun to a safe place with one of his wings. Run. What about you? Ling Yun shook her head. She will kill you. Of course, he knew that she would kill him, but she would also kill him. Run. Min Dong pushed Ling Yun. You will only cause trouble for me if you stay. I don't have time to protect you. Ling Yun wasn't moved by Min Dong's words. She straightened her back and stood in front of Min Dong. She looked straight at Shi Shang, who was coming over. It's my fault. 16. If you have anything to do with me, take it out on me. I was the one who attacked you. You can hate me if you want. It has nothing to do with Min Dong. It has nothing to do with you if I kill Min Dong. Shi Shang rolled his eyes. This guy wanted to do something to I just now. He was the one who came to seek his own death. How could he blame I? Ling Yun wanted to say something, but the person in front of her had already rushed over with his sword. Min Dong could only dodge with Ling Yun. They were getting farther and farther away from the prison. They could almost see the sea. The sound of waves was carried by the wind. Bang! Flames rose into the sky and lit up half of the sky. Shi Shang and Min Dong looked over at the same time. The prison was engulfed in flames. A few fighter jets were hovering in the sky. They were too far away from the prison and didn't notice where they came from. Min Dong's face flashed with a strange look. Your Colonel Ji is still in prison, right? If the explosion continued, not to mention humans, even monsters would be killed. So what? Shi Shang raised his eyebrows slightly and said in a relaxed tone. She had asked Ji Ang to stay there, which meant that she would ensure his safety. Even if an atomic bomb came, he wouldn't die. Compared to being cold-blooded, you are the best. He thought that she cared a lot about that man, but now it seemed that she was just so. Thank you for the compliment. Shi Shang swung his iron sword. His face was full of arrogance. "Come on, die." Min Dong. Min Dong took a deep breath and flapped his only wing. The sand on the ground was swept up by his wing and swept towards Shi Shang. He took the opportunity to turn and run. Shi Shang rushed out of the small whirlwinds and flew out on his iron sword. He also threw the energy ball in his hand. Min Dong didn't have wings, so he couldn't dodge the energy ball easily. He was affected by the airflow and Ling Yun fell out of his arms. Min Dong was crawling towards Ling Yun when an energy ball suddenly fell in front of him. He was shocked and fell back. The energy ball exploded and created a huge crater, separating him and Ling Yun. Min Dong hesitated for a moment, then turned and ran away. Ling Yun stared blankly at the disappearing figure. Her fingers dug into the ground. She took a deep breath and got up from the ground. She stood facing Shi Shang. She took a deep breath and looked like a warrior who was going to die. Her face was full of determination, but her eyes were also filled with anger and hatred. The sword chi engulfed the flashing lightning in the huge pit. In the midst of the wind, the figure had already swept past her. An endless chill came from her neck. Ling Yun raised her hand, but slowly lowered it. Her body fell into the huge pit behind her. Shi Shang stood opposite the crater. He only chased after Min Dong after making sure that Ling Yun was dead. The sky was covered with dark clouds. The deafening sound of thunder was gathering. "Damn it, I'm going to get struck again. I'll kill the male lead first before striking him, okay?" Boom! Purple lightning fell from the sky. The dense rumbling sound was like war drums, cheering for the lightning. The sky seemed to be trembling. K his second uncle. Shi Shang stepped on his iron sword and dashed forward quickly. Lightning kept falling from the dark clouds and attacked Shi Shang. The power of the lightning could make a normal person's heart palpitate. Although Shi Shang's soul was strong, his body had never been trained. He was just a normal person. He would be at a disadvantage under the lightning. Min Dong had already disappeared. Shi Shang didn't chase after him. He focused on dealing with the lightning. If he couldn't deal with it, he wouldn't be able to show off. Shi Shang went to the surface of the sea and got rid of the lightning as fast as he could. Chapter 1745. Why is there thunder over there? Is it coming towards us? In the fighter jet above the prison, the pilot was looking at the strange sky. The thunder cloud is not coming. Carry out the mission and leave this place. Yes, sir. The fighter jet continued to drop bombs. What's that? One of the pilots suddenly yelled. On the ground, a white figure was moving towards the side of the prison. It seemed to be planning to go around the prison to the beach. It's those monsters, right? The higher-ups said that none of them should be left alive, someone said. Should we bomb them? Yes. Their purpose here was to eliminate all the abnormal creatures on the island. These things should not exist. They had already caused a devastating disaster to mankind. If they escaped, the whole world would be doomed. Min Dong had just gotten rid of Shi Shang. Before he could breathe a sigh of relief, bombs fell from the sky and exploded around him. 2 helicopters hovered above him. Min Dong's heart sank. He had been discovered by these people. He tried to rush out of the encirclement, but the bombs above were thrown down as if they didn't cost money. They exploded densely around him. A bomb fell right beside his feet and exploded. He subconsciously used his wings to block it. The feathers on his wings were swallowed by the flames. His entire wing was charred black. In the next second, 2 bombs fell from the left and the right. Min Dong's body was blown away and fell into the grass in the distance. The grass that was half a man's height blocked his body. Is he dead? I don't know. Just in case, let's bomb him a few more times. A few more bombs exploded around Min Dong. The flames ignited the grass like sparks in a prairie. In the blink of an eye, the ground below had turned into a sea of fire. The fighter jets stayed above for a while and then joined the fighter jets above the prison. They formed an echelon and retreated to the sea. When Shi Shang returned, the prison was already surrounded by fire. Shi Shang was also a little embarrassed. She fell into the prison and found Jiang. His body was emitting a faint white light. He was looking up at the gray sky. There was no emotion in his eyes. His face was a little cold. Shi Shang jumped down from the iron sword and walked towards him. He gently hugged him. "Don't be afraid. Even if everyone abandons you, I won't." Jiang reached out and hugged the Shi Shang. Okay. He never felt that he had anything. Power, status, fake friends, or even teammates who fought side by side with him. He never felt that he really had anything. He couldn't feel the passion and sincerity that others spoke of. Only this little girl, he could clearly feel her passionate love, her pampering tenderness. Jiang lowered his head and buried his head in Shi Shang's neck. He gently bit her neck and slowly exerted force. Shi Shang, as expected, he still had to bite. Flames flickered all around them. The two figures were intimately intertwined in the flames, and no one could separate them. Jiang stuck out his tongue and licked the bite mark that he had left behind. He moved his lips close to Shi Shang's ear and said, "Shi Shang, do you have the honor of having my surname on your name?" Shi Shang tilted his head. "Why isn't it my surname instead of yours?" "You have a surname?" Jiang slightly straightened his body, raised his eyebrows and asked. Shi Shang smiled. "Of course. My surname is Shi." Shi Jiang's heart was suddenly hit by something. He blurted out, "Xiao Sheng." "Hey, you remember?" Jiang looked at Shi Shang blankly. This name was both familiar and strange to him. He didn't even know why he called her that. Shi Shang looked at his expression and could only sigh slightly. "Let's go." "Who's Xiao Sheng?" Jiang asked. "Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?" Shi Shang pulled him onto the iron sword. The iron sword rose steadily into the air. Shi Shang pinched Jiang's chin evilly. "Do you have a lover behind my back?" "I don't." "If you don't, then why are you hesitating? Damn, could it be that he really had a lover outside?" "No." Jiang shook his head. "I don't know who Xiao Sheng is. I just feel that this name is very important to me, just like it is to you." This feeling was very strange. It was impossible for him to feel that someone was important just because of a name, but this was exactly what he felt now. Shi Shang was in a good mood and kissed him on the lips. "You'll understand in the future." "Do you know who she is?" Jiang grasped the key point in Shi Shang's words. "If I say it's me, would you believe me?" Jiang stared at Shi Shang steadily. After a moment he said seriously, "I believe you." The prisons were all blown up, and everything inside was burned to ashes. Those inhumane experiments and those terrifying ideas would never see the light of day again. The people who left did not mutate. Perhaps it was because they needed to mutate in Area F, where there might be something there. No one knew what those researchers had created there. Jiang did not plan to go back. He and Shi Shang found a small town to live in. The two of them did not mention the prison again. However, Shi Shang soon understood what Min Dong meant when he said that she would die. Her health was deteriorating day by day. She was like an old person, weak and weak. Shi Shang looked at his hands in a daze. How much time did she have left? At this rate, she probably did not have much time left. Strong hands hugged Shi Shang from behind. Shi Shang put his hands down. "Jiang." Jiang reached out and turned her face away. Her words were stuck in her throat. The two of them entangled from the living room to the bedroom. Jiang was very energetic, but Shi Shang was not. "Jiang, Jiang, no more." Shi Shang pushed Jiang away. She was very tired. Jiang did not move. He leaned on her and looked at her. "Are you hiding something from me?" Think about it first." Jiang made himself more intimate with Shi Shang. Shi Shang gasped and called his name through gritted teeth. "Jiang." Jiang looked a little evil. "Do you want it?" Get off me. Shi Shang was angry. Damn it, he had not been beaten for 3 days. No. Jiang pressed his body down. Unless you tell me what's wrong with you, I'm going to die. Shi Shang said angrily. Get off me. I don't have the strength. Jiang was stunned. He even seemed to hold his breath. After a long time, his long eyelashes fluttered. He was suddenly at a loss. 16. How could this be? I took you for a physical examination last time. There was no problem. You lied to me, right? I don't want to do it anymore. Don't scare me. Jiang wanted to get away, but Shi Shang held him down. Shi Shang's heart softened when she saw Jiang's flustered look. She patted his back. I didn't lie to you. I might really die. But don't be afraid. I won't leave you alone. Jiang hugged Shi Shang. Is it because of what happened last time? It should be. Chapter 1746. Min Dong was telling the truth. There was a substance in her body, and she would really die if she did not have intercourse with someone who had the same substance. She and Jiang were not the male and female leads, so there were not many coincidences for Jiang to have what she needed. Even if someone else had it, Jiang would never let Shi Shang have sex with someone else. He would rather she die in his arms than let anyone else touch her. Am I very selfish? Jiang leaned against the window and looked at the young lady who was giving him milk. The girl was wearing home clothes. She poured the snow-white milk into a glass. With a splash, the glass was half full. The girl stopped and handed the glass to him with a smile on her face. Love is selfish. What I like is your selfishness. If he pushed her to someone else like the others, she wouldn't even look at him. The person she liked should treat her as his everything and not let anyone else touch her. I can't bear to part with you. Jiang held the glass. I've thought about it, but I can't do it. If you die, I'll die with you. I won't let you be alone. Shi Shang pinched his cheek. I know you're good. Come, give me a kiss. Jiang leaned over and pouted. Kiss me for 5 minutes. Shi Shang slapped his face. You're getting more and more shameless. Jiang felt wronged. Wife, didn't you ask me to kiss you? Why are you going back on your words? Shi Shang turned around. I don't want to kiss you anymore. Hurry up and drink. It's time to sleep. Then can I kiss you later? Jiang shouted at Shi Shang's back. It depends on your performance. Jiang raised his head and drank the milk in one gulp. He casually placed the glass on the windowsill and chased Shi Shang into the room from the other side. Go away. No, wife, I want to. What do you want? I'm about to die. Why are you still thinking? F***ck. You're not allowed to take off eyes clothes. Stop it. Jiang. Wife, you're about to die anyway. Why don't you enjoy yourself? Jiang. Damn you. Wife, you don't have to move. You won't be tired. I promise. Be good. Jiang. Although Jiang said that, he did not dare to do it for too long. Life in the small town was leisurely. Most of the people living here were old people who were easy to get along with. When Shi Shang came in and out, these people would greet her warmly. When Shi Shang was free, he would also chat with these people. Zhang Shilu, are you going out? The silver-haired old lady sitting at the door greeted her kindly when she saw Shi Shang coming out. Yes. Granny, have you seen my Jiang? Shi Shang nodded with a smile. Jiang, did you go grocery shopping? The old lady sighed. 16 has really found a good husband. A man who can wash clothes and cook for a woman is more valuable than any gold, silver, or jewelry. Yes, I think he's very good too, Shi Shang replied. I'll go find him first. Hey, go ahead, go ahead. Shi Shang found Jiang in the market. His temperament stood out among the aunties and uncles, especially when such a good-looking young man came to buy vegetables. All the aunties and uncles stared at him. Almost all the people in the market knew him. This young man came to buy vegetables every day, sometimes accompanied by a young girl. They were a perfect match. Jiang Shishang squeezed through the aunties and uncles to Jiang's side. "Why didn't you call me today? I want you to sleep more." Jiang rubbed her head, his eyes full of affection. "But I want to be with you." "Okay, I'll call you next time." Shishang nodded with satisfaction and looked into the bag he was carrying. "What else do you want to buy? I'm done shopping. I'll cook for you when we get home." Shishang smacked his lips. "I think you're the most delicious." Jiang knocked Shishang's head. "You're seducing me now because I can't do anything to you, right? If I don't seduce you, who should I seduce?" Shishang stared at him angrily. "You want me to seduce someone else?" "No." Jiang immediately pulled a long face. "You're only allowed to seduce me." He moved closer to Shishang. "You can seduce me however you want when we get home." "I'm not seducing you." Shishang pushed him away, his face full of disdain. Jiang smiled and pulled her back into his arms. "There are so many people. Be careful." "Am I that delicate?" "It's my honor to protect you." "Tisk, who did you learn from recently?" "You're so good at sweet-talking." "I learned it all by myself." "Go ahead and boast." The days passed one by one. Shishang was weak at the beginning, but now, she had no appetite for anything. Even if Jiang cooked something for her, Shishang couldn't eat more than 2 mouthfuls. Maybe it was because they had agreed at the beginning that Jiang wasn't as anxious as before. But when he saw Shishang suffering, he felt sorry for her and wished that he was the one suffering. Shishang couldn't accompany him to buy groceries, so Jiang always went and came back quickly. But today, he was delayed on the way back. When he came back, he found the whole room in a mess and Shishang was nowhere to be seen. 16. Jiang searched the whole room but couldn't find her. He rushed out of the room and asked the old people around, but they all said that they didn't see Shishang. The people around now knew that Shishang and her boyfriend were staying here to recuperate because of her poor health. Seeing Jiang so anxious, they all asked him what had happened. Jiang said that Shishang was missing and there were traces of someone entering the room. The old people immediately discussed and called the police. Jiang couldn't wait for the police to come, so he went to find Shishang first. Jiang almost searched the whole town, but couldn't find Shishang. The police also helped to look for her, but there was no news. She seemed to have disappeared into thin air. 3 days. For 3 whole days, Jiang searched the entire county like a walking corpse. The answer the police gave was that someone had broken into the house. It was probably a burglary and took Shishang away. Jiang knew that it was impossible. No one was her match. Even if she was not feeling well, she wouldn't be taken away so easily. Unless she left on her own. But why did she leave? Jiang sat by the windowsill where they often sat, watching the rising sun. His eyes were dead silent. She was gone. She said that she would not abandon him, but she was gone. Jiang's body stiffened. He quickly turned around and saw Shishang open the door. The moment the door closed, his body went limp and he slid to the ground. Jiang's heart tightened. He jumped down from the window and rushed to Shishang. He pulled her into his arms and said in a trembling voice, "Shishang, where did you go? I couldn't find you anywhere. I was scared. I'm sorry." Shishang's voice was very soft. "What did you call me just now?" "Shishang, I remember now. Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little fairy, I remember now. You didn't vote. Cherub. Slander. System. Nonsense. System owner. Nonsense. Cherub, what does it have to do with you? Don't you want to play mahjong? System owner. We need one more person. Little fairy, don't change the topic. I'm serious. Vote, vote, vote. Cherub. We need one more person. Let's go. System, I'll go too. Little fairy. This is the 101st time you've lost me. Chapter 1747. 3 days ago, not long after Jiang had left, Shi Shang heard someone enter the living room. She was very familiar with Jiang's footsteps, but they didn't belong to Jiang. She immediately became alert. She didn't expect the male lead, Min Dong, to be here. It was also beyond Shi Shang's expectations that he was still alive. Min Dong chased after Shi Shang with something in his body. He was ready when he came in. Maybe it was because she was weak, but she almost couldn't resist Min Dong's temptation. Although Min Dong was in a mess, he was obviously in a much better condition than Shi Shang. Shi Shang didn't kill him several times, but let him escape. Shi Shang didn't want to leave such a troublemaker alive, so he chased after him. Min Dong was killed, but she was also struck by lightning. The strange thing was that the plane didn't collapse this time. The female lead was killed by her, and the male lead was also killed by her. Buttface said that it was because their main character aura had almost disappeared. Shi Shang didn't comment on this. Jiang was very nervous because of Shi Shang's disappearance. He had to follow Shi Shang to eat and go to the bathroom. Jiang didn't start to settle accounts with Shi Shang until Shi Shang was almost recovered. "You promised me." Jiang looked at Shi Shang with an aggrieved expression. "You were the one who made the first move." Shi Shang's face was serious. "I rejected you, but you insisted on forcing yourself on me. What could I do?" Jiang stared at him. "You had the ability to refuse, so you did it on purpose. I was a prisoner at that time. How could I refuse?" She knew this would happen. In the end, she would have to take the blame. But now she was trying to make herself look reasonable. "You're scared?" She wanted to refuse. Even he didn't dare to do anything to her. She did it on purpose. "Of course I'm scared," Shi Shang said with a smile. "Don't be angry. It's all your fault, isn't it?" Jiang's lips moved. After a long time, he said in a low voice, "You promised me." He looked as if Shi Shang had bullied him. Shi Shang could not bear to see him being wronged. Okay. I was wrong, okay? It's my fault for not being firm enough. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have been unable to resist your temptation. I'll reflect on myself. Don't be angry anymore." Damn it, it would be a problem if she could withstand the temptation of a daughter-in-law. He had no idea where he had gone wrong. But if her daughter-in-law was angry, then she was wrong. No matter how big the world was, his wife was the most important. Jiang looked up at her, snorted, and left. "Hey, I've already admitted my mistake. Why are you still angry?" Jiang quickly walked out of the room. Shi Shang scratched his head. Didn't they do well in other planes? Why was he so fixated on the present? Jiang stayed in the living room and did not enter the room. He wandered around the room in Shi Shang for a while, then pushed the door open and went out. Seeing her come out, Jiang immediately pulled the blanket on the sofa to cover his face. His whole body exuded an aura that said, coax me, you have to coax me to get better." Shi Shang nudged him. "Are you still angry?" Jiang turned around and ignored Shi Shang. "I've already admitted my mistake." Shi Shang threw the blanket on the floor and rudely turned his face over. "Don't be angry. I didn't do anything to anyone. Why can't you accept yourself?" "This isn't me," Jiang muttered as he shifted his gaze to the other side. "Why isn't it you? You're the one using this body now. It'll be you until you die." "But he wasn't me before. He was just a string of data." His thoughts and consciousness were given by data. Jiang bit his lower lip and reached out to hold Shi Shang's hand. "Xiao Shang, I'm scared." "What are you scared of? Tell me, what are you scared of?" "I'm just scared." Jiang reached out to hug Shi Shang and pulled her into his arms. "I'm scared that one day when I wake up, you won't be the one I see." "How can that be? I'll always be by your side." He was very insecure, just like the old Wen Gu. If he was strong, she wouldn't pity him at all. But whenever he showed his weak side, Shi Shang couldn't help but feel sorry for him. Shi Shang knew that sometimes he used this to make her pity him, agree to all sorts of unreasonable requests, and give in to him. But she didn't resent it. It was impossible for a person to be perfect, let alone people like them. Feng Ci wasn't a pure person to begin with. It was impossible to make him act like a sweet, naive person. The Feng Ci that she liked was the one who would occasionally play tricks and make trouble for no reason and wait for her to coax him. Shi Shang coaxed this little devil for the whole night and finally let go of the previous matter. But after that, it was a bit difficult for Shi Shang to touch her again. Feng Ci gave a very serious reason. He wasn't in good health. He really wanted a wife who could enjoy herself. After recovering his memory, Jiang was much stricter with Shi Shang. He wasn't allowed to sleep at any time, play games, or read inappropriate books. He wasn't allowed to do anything here or there. Not only did Shi Shang not have an appetite, but he also had palpitations and cold sweat every day. Sometimes, he even had a high fever. These symptoms constantly tortured him. Jiang's heart ached, but he couldn't bear it for him. He could only watch him every day. Wife, let's find a place to commit suicide. Shi Shang stood opposite Jiang and made her request in a serious manner. Okay. Shi Shang. She silently looked at the spiritual food that Jiang took away. I just wanted you to return the spiritual food to me. Who asked you to agree? Shi Shang waved his hand and turned to leave. He didn't take this matter to heart. But one morning, while she was still sleeping, Jiang took her to a nearby mountain peak to watch the sunrise. The light of the sunrise shone on the two of them. Jiang suddenly bent down, his eyes still burning with the light of dawn. He kissed Shi Shang. With a light taste of milk, he pushed the tip of his tongue into Shi Shang's mouth. Jiang gently placed her on the soft grass and kissed her gently. He didn't lick Shi Shang's lips until the milk candy had completely melted. Shi Shang licked his lips and looked at the person on top of him. You can't wait to die with me? I don't want to see you in so much pain, Jiang said softly. Shi Shang tilted his head and looked at the rising sun in the distance. His eyes were a little unfocused. He was withdrawing his consciousness from her body. Shi Shang turned his head and met Jiang's gaze. He pulled the corners of his mouth and smiled for the last time. Jiang watched as Shi Shang closed his eyes and heard the last beat of her heart. His eyes suddenly turned red. A gentle breeze blew a drop of crystal-clear tear from the corner of his eye. The breeze stopped and Jiang returned to normal. He stood up and hugged Shi Shang and kissed her forehead. Jiang personally buried Shi Shang in the hole that he had dug in advance. Then, he lay down beside her and hugged her. He pressed a protrusion beside them and the soil on both sides began to pour in and bury them. My love is written in the wind. From now on, the whole world belongs to you. * The 50th world ended. Chapter 1748. Everyone knew that Shi Wei was a troublemaker. Shi Shang stood in a green space in a daze. She was wearing a green leaf dress. Why was it a leaf dress? Because the dress was made of leaves. She was afraid that she would tear it if she tugged hard. With that thought, she reached out and tugged at it. However, the result was out of Shi Shang's expectations. The leaf dress was very sturdy. She couldn't tear it off no matter how hard she tried. Did I transmigrate to a primitive society again? No. I don't want to be associated with beasts. Let me be a human and show off. Shi Shang glanced at her side. She reached out and grabbed something as thin as a cicada's wing. What the hell was that? Shi Shang tugged at it and realized that it was growing on her. There were wings on both sides of her body. There were wings on both sides. Shi Shang let go of the wings and flapped them subconsciously. She immediately flew into the air. Her wings stopped flapping and she fell down with a thud. Shi Shang, I have wings? What kind of race has wings like this? If you didn't look closely, you wouldn't even see the wings. The wings were already growing on her body. It was impossible to tear them off. Shi Shang gave up on thinking about her wings for the time being. She looked around. It was a grassland. It was very quiet and filled with spiritual energy. She didn't need to absorb it. The spiritual energy would automatically enter her body. This body should have been cultivated before. It could absorb spiritual energy very well. There was no need for special guidance. She was here when she woke up. She didn't know how the original owner died. Anyway, she didn't feel anything wrong with this body. If it wasn't her body that died, then it must be her soul. She had to retrieve the memories first. Shi Shang looked around. She didn't know where this place was. It was calm and peaceful. She didn't know if there was any danger. Shi Shang decided to find a safe place to retrieve the memories first. She walked towards the forest not far away and found a place where she could set up a safe zone. The original owner was called Shi Wei. She was an elf. Her age was unknown. She liked to cause trouble. She was a notorious troublemaker. Although Shi Wei liked to cause trouble, she was pure and kind by nature and did not have any bad intentions. The elves could do nothing but have a headache. The elves lived in seclusion and lived in the forest. Shi Wei had never left the elves' territory, so she snuck out of the elves' territory. Who knew that she would run into 3 people, 1 woman and 2 men, who were being chased outside the elven territory. Seeing that they were about to die from the siege, she thought of a way to save them. They were all injured, and Shi Wei kindly treated them. Someone recognized her identity, and Shi Wei did not hesitate to admit it, so one of the girls asked her if she could take them to the elf tribe. Although Shi Wei was kind, the elves in her tribe often told her that if she met humans outside, she must not let them in. So Shi Wei shook her head and refused. However, those people kept pestering her and even told Shi Wei that they were only there to save people and had no other intentions. Shi Wei's heart softened and she brought them into the elf tribe. The elves were very disgusted with humans. Those people were caught as soon as they entered, but the girl took out a dry branch. When the elven elders saw the branch, their expressions changed and those people were released. Shi Wei did not know what they said to the elders, but from that day on, they lived in the elf tribe. She heard the elders say that they wanted to see the elf king. The elf king had been in seclusion for many years and did not appear. It was harder to see the elf king than to reach the heavens. Shi Wei accidentally heard their conversation. They were looking for the tree of life. The elves were born from the tree of life. The tree of life was a sacred object to the elves. Every year, they would hold a sacrifice to it. Of course, this was only what Shi Wei heard. She had never participated in it. Since she could remember, only the elders could participate in the sacrifice. If outsiders wanted to see the tree of life, they had to get the elf king's permission. However, the elf king did not appear. The 3 of them could not wait any longer and decided to look for it themselves. This scene was coincidentally seen by Shi Wei. Shi Wei followed them and found the tree of life with them. However, what she saw was not the vibrant tree of life, but a withered tree of life. The 3 of them were discovered by the elves and were brought to the elders. Shi Wei was also brought to them. The elders told them that the tree of life had been withered for a long time. No one knew why. One day, it had mysteriously withered. No matter what they did, they could not revive the tree of life. The elves were blessed with longevity by the tree of life. Without the tree of life, the elves were already on the verge of extinction. The 3 of them were very disappointed. They stayed in the elf tribe for a while. Just as they were about to leave, a large group of humans invaded the elf tribe. As soon as they entered, they started killing the elves. All the elves were fighting against the foreign enemies. The 3 of them seemed to know something. They grabbed Shi Wei and asked the girl to bring Shi Wei to the tree of life. They would help to stop those people. The girl cut off branches from the tree of life and formed a circle around Shi Wei. Shi Wei was very angry and asked her why she did this. The girl apologized guiltily and said that she had no choice but to do this because someone important to her was about to die. The elves were born from the tree of life. The power of the tree of life flowed in their bodies. The girl wanted to use Shi Wei's power to save the person she wanted to save. Shi Wei regretted bringing them in and even more regretted trusting them. Who would have thought that they had such evil intentions? Shi Wei wanted to take revenge and protect the elves who were tortured by her but did not get angry at her. Shi Shang felt a chill after receiving the memories. If that girl was the female lead, how bad would she be? Using innocent elves to save the person she wanted to save. TSK, the worse the better. How could she do anything to the female lead if she was not bad? Now that Shi Wei was dead, her soul was refined and disappeared. However, her body was left behind and abandoned beside the tree of life. Then, she became her. Then the question was, where was this place? How was I supposed to get out? The original owner was abandoned beside the tree of life, but why was she in this strange place when she woke up? Someone didn't even let go of a corpse? Did they have to be so crazy? When the original owner was in trouble, the elves had already been invaded. Who knew how long it had been since then? If she went out now, would the elves still be there? The main point was, how was she supposed to get out? When I shouted out, Shi Shang looked at the withered scene in front of her. The towering tree was withered and from the dense branches, she could tell how big it used to be. She gulped. It just let I go out? Reality proved that she really did come out. It was like shouting open sesame. Go in. The forest in front of Shi Shang changed again. Go out. The scene in front of her changed again to the withered tree. Asterisk elves ha ha ha. Hashtag today, please vote for the Phoenix Tail Orchid Flavor hashtag it's July. Another half a year has passed. It's a new month. Come, little cuties, it's time to vote. Hashtag you all have guaranteed monthly votes in your pockets. Hurry and take a look. Vote. Hashtag. Chapter 1749. They could only enter and exit the space when they were near the Tree of Life. Shi Shang guessed that it must be because of the Tree of Life. Shi Shang left the Tree of Life and headed towards the elf tribe. The closer he got to the elf tribe, the colder Shi Shang felt. As he continued forward, he saw the entire elf tribe covered in ice and snow. Withered vines wrapped around the elf tribe, and he could vaguely see the frozen elves. WTF. Shi Shang removed some vines and could still see the battle situation. The entire battlefield was frozen. F***CK. This is awesome. How am I supposed to save them? Break the ice? These people will be broken into pieces. Shi Shang looked around the elf tribe. Most of the elves were lying on the ground. The elves who were standing were facing the outside of the elf tribe. At this moment, they were suddenly frozen. She could even see the anger and hatred on the faces of the standing elves. Shi Shang face-bombed. The original owner's last wish was too much. When she died, the situation was already like this. Unless she could rewrite the entire script, there was no way to save the elf tribe. She didn't even know how to break the frozen elves. But let me see the script. He had to know who the female lead was and what her background was. No. Although that was what Buttface thought, he had actually sent the script to Shi Shang. This continent was called the Green Cloud Continent. There were many races living here, including humans, demons, beasts, dwarves, elves. In short, there were many races. Humans and demons were the main races. Like all stories, humans and demons were sworn enemies. There was a small fight every 3 days and a big fight every 5 days. The other races were either neutral or took sides. Elves and dwarves, who loved peace, were neutral. The female lead was called Feng Zi. In order to save one of her supporting male leads, she went to the elf race to find the Tree of Life. At the same time, she also brought people from the demon race, which ended with the demon race being frozen. After that, the female lead returned to the continent and fought with the demons. In the end, humans and demons went their separate ways and didn't interfere with each other. Feng Zi became the leader of the human race. In the end, the elves seemed to have been forgotten. Shi Shang rubbed his head, feeling a headache coming on. Damn it, she was indeed the female lead. Shi Shang was preparing to leave the fairy clan. The female lead had left long ago. She had to go outside to kill the female lead. Shi Shang stepped on the ice and slowly walked towards the outside of the elven residence, thinking about what to do first. Just as she reached the entrance, a strange power suddenly came from behind her. The power was very violent, but at the same time, it made her feel a sense of familiarity. It was a very strange feeling. Shi Shang paused for a moment, then turned around and walked towards the source of the energy. Shi Shang walked around the elf clan and finally stopped at a place where the elf king was cultivating in seclusion. That was where the energy came from. Shi Shang hesitated. According to her character, she should turn around and leave now, but the power inside. She stepped onto the wooden steps covered in ice and stood in front of the stone door that was also covered in ice. With a twist of her wrist, the iron sword suddenly appeared. The stone door was shattered into pieces by the iron sword. The inside of the stone door was also sealed in ice. Shi Shang immediately saw the ice sculpture in the middle. There was a black shadow inside, like a blob of ink sealed in ice. She could vaguely make out the shape of a human. Shi Shang's heart raced. She stared at the ice sculpture, then slowly stepped forward and reached out her hand. "Don't touch it." A clear voice sounded from all directions. Shi Shang's fingers were only a millimeter away from the ice sculpture. Shi Shang turned her head to look into the void, but she didn't see anyone, not even a ghost. "I'm right in front of you." The voice sounded again. Shi Shang looked at the sculpture in front of her. Her expression turned ugly for a moment. If King thought I would be happy to meet my wife so early, but now my wife was sealed in ice. Flips table. How am I supposed to deal with this? You're Shi Wei, right? Yes, you know me. Shi Shang retracted her hand and walked around the ice sculpture twice. This should be the King of Fairies, Jing Lin. I was the one who brought you here from the Tree of Life. I didn't expect you to grow so big. Jing Lin paused. How's the fairy race? The original owner was brought here by Jing Lin? The original owner was too young at that time, like a newborn baby. She didn't remember how she came to the fairy race. Anyway, she had been in the fairy race for as long as she could remember, and she had never seen the King of Fairies. Shi Shang answered Jing Lin's last question. Same as you. They're both sealed in ice. Jing Lin was silent for a moment. I didn't protect them well. Shi Shang. Oh no, there seemed to be something wrong with the character design this time. How much time has passed? I don't know. She had just arrived and didn't have any reference time. How would she know how much time had passed? Shi Shang stood in front of Jing Lin. How can I get you out? The Tree of Life. Shi Shang frowned. It's already withered. So you have to bring it back to life. Only then can you save me. It could come back to life after being dead? Was the Tree of Life so powerful? Can't you come out yourself? Aren't you the King of Fairies? If the King of Fairies was so weak and sealed, it wasn't strange that the fairy race was weak too. My power comes from the King of Fairies. Without the King of Fairies, my power will be greatly reduced. Shi Shang. This meant that without the King of Fairies, she couldn't be powerful anymore. My heart aches for my wife. Sob, sob, sob. My heart hurts. I want to kill someone. How can I bring the Tree of Life back to life? Find the King of Fairies. Jing Lin told her that the Tree of Life had withered because the King of Fairies was lost. She had to find the King of Fairies to bring the Tree of Life back to life and save the fairy race. However, Jing Lin didn't know where the King of Fairies was either. Wasn't this a scam? Shi Shang didn't understand the relationship between the King of Fairies and the Tree of Life. Why would the Tree of Life wither when the King of Fairies was lost? But this was a fantasy. What could she say? Shi Shang sat on the ground and scratched his head. She had to take revenge and find the King of Fairies. Why were there so many things to do? Is there no other way to get you out first? There is. Shi Shang stood up immediately. What is it? Find the frozen fairies. Shi Shang. As the saying goes, whoever started the trouble should end it. Finding the frozen fairies was possible. Shi Shang asked him who he should find, but Jing Lin said he didn't know. Shi Shang, the original owner, didn't know who had frozen the fairies. Compared to bringing the Tree of Life back to life, it was easier to find out who had frozen the fairies because there were clues. It was the demons who had attacked the fairies. It must have been those idiots from the demons. Even if it wasn't them, they would know who had done such a wicked thing. She just needed to go out and interrogate the demons. This method was much simpler than finding the King of Fairies. So, she should cultivate now. She wanted to go out and show off when she was weak. Chapter 1750. The original owner only knew how to cause trouble all day long. She didn't cultivate at all and only had a little foundation. It wasn't enough for Shi Shang to start from scratch. But her wings were a bit troublesome. She couldn't take them back. She followed the original owner's method, but she couldn't take them back no matter what. Why can't I take them back? Shi Shang asked the Ice Sculpture Elf King. After a while, Jing Lin answered, Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? No. She didn't feel anything wrong with her body. It was quite good. She could jump and jump. I can't check. I don't know the reason yet. Then if I can't take them back, I have to meet people like this? Damn. Won't those people outside chase I? Elves were beautiful. Humans and other races liked them very much. If they went outside, there was a high chance that they would be caught. Jing Lin was silent. He was already like this. How could he help her? Forget it. Let's cultivate first. Maybe I can take them back when I'm strong enough, Shi Shang muttered. He found a place to sit cross-legged. Shi Shang didn't remember how long she'd been in this place since she cultivated. Jing Lin was asleep most of the time. He would occasionally wake up. He could see the little girl sitting in the corner. When she cultivated, there was a flow of air around her. It was different from what they usually cultivated. When Jing Lin was awake, Shi Shang was cultivating. When Shi Shang woke up, Jing Lin was asleep. So the two didn't talk. There seems to be a cave in front. Let's go and take a look. Be careful. Shi Shang and Jing Lin woke up at the same time. Shi Shang looked at Jing Lin, then got up and walked to the entrance of the cave. The cave was at a higher place. She could clearly see the situation below. Several people were supporting each other as they walked towards her. They were probably humans. She didn't know how strong they were, but if they could come here, they probably weren't weak. There's someone up there. Someone saw Shi Shang standing at the entrance of the cave and exclaimed, She has wings. She's an elf. It's really an elf. We found an elf. An elf. It's really an elf. We actually found a living elf. Let's go up. Don't let her run away. We'll win this time. Ha ha ha. The people below shouted excitedly. Their voices spread far and wide through the ice and slowly returned, echoing continuously. They all took out their weapons and seemed to be ready to capture Shi Shang. Shi Shang was speechless. I knew you would be caught if you wore wings. A few people quickly ran to the entrance of the cave. One of the men stopped the people behind them who wanted to directly attack and said with a smile, Little guy, don't be afraid. We won't hurt you. Shi Shang cracked his neck and sneered, Do you think I'm stupid? She wasn't deaf. She had clearly heard what they had just said. Now, they still wanted to lie to her. Damn it, did they think that elves were so easy to deceive? The person on the other side probably didn't expect the gentle, elegant, and polite fairy to speak such vulgar language the moment she opened her mouth. He didn't react in time. Shi Shang kicked the man who spoke. He took a step back, slipped, and fell down, smashing into the ice. The ice quickly covered the man's body, imprisoning him on the ice. The man waved his hands and screamed in horror. Help, help. Save me. Help. Help me. No one dared to go down to save him. They could only watch as the man was covered in ice and turned into a new ice sculpture. The man's terrified expression could still be seen clearly. He was no different from the other elves' ice sculptures. It had only taken 2 or 3 seconds. Shi Shang was a little surprised. They were fine when they walked in. How did they freeze when they fell down? This probably wasn't the first time this had happened. The humans were relatively calm. Don't waste time talking to her. Let's capture her and bring her back. The others obviously agreed. They all took out their weapons and pointed them at Shi Shang. Shi Shang took out his iron sword and rushed into the crowd with a cold face. I could use this opportunity to test the results of my cultivation. Shi Shang shuttled between them at an extremely fast speed. When he saw an opportunity, he would kick someone down. Once they fell onto the ice, they would be frozen into ice sculptures. There was no way they could escape. Soon, only a boy with a flat nose was left in the crowd. Don't come over. The boy with a flat nose held the weapon in his hand and looked at Shi Shang in horror. He didn't expect the elf to be so strong. Even with so many of them, they couldn't defeat her. Then jump down yourself. Shi Shang raised his chin and pointed behind him. The boy with a flat nose turned around. There were a few new sculptures below. They were all his companions. No, I don't want to die. The boy with a flat nose hugged his head. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to catch you. Please let me go. I won't say anything. Please let me go. If I had begged just now, would you have let me go? Shi Shang's eyes were cold. If you don't jump down yourself, I'll do it. No, don't. Don't come over. I don't want to die. The boy with a flat nose seemed to be scared out of his wits. He started to stutter. Shi Shang was about to kick him down when Jing Lin's voice suddenly sounded. Shi Wei, bring him in. Shi Shang was speechless. He was ordering him around like a servant. The boy with a flat nose was tied up by Shi Shang and brought into the cave. His legs were weak, but he didn't dare to fall to the ground. He watched as Shi Shang sat down on the platform made of ice as if nothing had happened. The fear in his eyes intensified. What time is it now? Jing Lin asked. The boy with a flat nose only heard the voice and didn't see anyone. He couldn't help but be shocked. He looked around like a frightened rabbit. What was that person talking about? Just answer the question. What are you looking for? Shi Shang roared in annoyance. The boy with a flat nose trembled all over. He answered in a trembling voice, Year 3620 of the Qingyun calendar. 3620? Jing Lin was shocked. He could even hear the tone of his voice. What's wrong? Shi Shang looked at the ice sculpture strangely. What was wrong with the time? It's been. Jing Lin's voice was hesitant and filled with disbelief. 100 years. What? Are you kidding me? 100 years have passed? 100 years and the female lead has already dominated the continent. 100 years and the female lead's children are all over the place. 100 years. The short-lived ones have already died twice. She was very sure that she hadn't been cultivating for a long time, so this time could only mean that there was a problem from the moment she woke up. But face, what are you doing? Shi Shang called out to the system in his mind. What do you mean by moving I to 100 years in the future? Host, I don't know why this happened. I'm not sure about the changes in the assessment dimension. The system gave a very official answer. Damn, what's the use of having you? Vase. Shi Shang. Get lost, get lost. Hurry up and get lost. I don't want to talk to you. Chapter 1751. According to the boy with a flat nose, 100 years had indeed passed. The current situation on the continent was that the human race and the demon race led by the female lead were on their own and didn't interfere with each other. As for the elves, they had long become a legend. 100 years ago, The war between the human race and the demon race was at a critical juncture. No one noticed when the elves who were originally active on the continent disappeared. When the war ended, everyone was shocked to find out, but they couldn't find a single elf. Later on, they could only find information about the elves in ancient books. Some people said that the elves still existed, but they didn't appear in front of people. Others said that the elves had long perished. These people were all students of the royal school. They came here to train. Later on, someone in the group told them about the elves' legends, so they made a bet with others to see who could find the elves. They were the first to arrive here. When they saw the frozen elves, they were given a fright. They hadn't expected the elven race to be in such a state. Thinking that they were already here, they continued to venture deeper and found Shang. They were very excited to see the elves alive, which was why they had such thoughts. The boy with the flat nose expressed that he regretted it. Shang rubbed his chin. So we're now rare animals. They had become a species only recorded in books on the continent. In other words, they could be seen in museums now. Jinglin seemed to have been hit by the past 100 years and didn't speak for a long time. Shang took the boy with the flat nose out to deal with him and slowly returned to the cave. As soon as she came in, Jinglin's voice sounded. "Where are they?" Shang replied casually, "Threw them away." They just accidentally came in. Why did you have to kill them?" Shang. "I knew there was something wrong with this person. The elves were naturally kind. To be able to become the Elf King, Jinglin's personality couldn't be too dark. So this test was to make her turn a kind-hearted Feng Ci gay?" Shang took a deep breath. "To be honest, you heard it too. The elves are now a legendary species. If you let them leave alive, do you think they won't spread the news? At that time, you won't even be able to protect the frozen elves outside. Don't talk to me about humanity. The entire elf race has been sealed. What humanity is there to speak of? What if their personalities don't match? Then I'll turn him gay. I've never seen this kind of operation before. I've learned something new again." Jinglin fell into silence again. He didn't know how to refute Shang or if he was thinking about what Shang had said. After Jinglin fell silent, he no longer paid any attention to Shang. Shang packed her things and prepared to leave. She had nothing to pack, and the most important thing was the ice sculpture in front of her. How was he going to take it away? Space. Her space was big, but it couldn't hold living things. Wouldn't he die if she put him in there? Finally, Shang put the ice sculpture on the iron sword and let the iron sword take the ice sculpture out of the cave. As for the opinion of the ice sculpture, it wasn't important. As soon as he came out of the cave, the ice sculpture in the mirror began to buzz and tremble. Light. Shang looked at the ice sculpture in confusion. What's wrong with light? Light. Jinglin seemed to be in pain as he repeated this word. Shang looked up at the sky. The dazzling white light shone on the ice on the ground like a mirror. It was even more dazzling. Shang frowned. He took out a cloak from the space and covered the ice sculpture. The trembling sound of the ice sculpture gradually subsided. Shang sighed in his heart. What kind of problem was this? Shang looked at the wings on his back. He had forgotten to put them away. She tried to put them away again, but there was still no response. She couldn't put them away at all. Did she really have to go out for an exhibition like this? I wouldn't be able to resist killing people. Shang tried a few times and was sure that they couldn't be put away. In the end, he could only put on a large cloak for himself. Fortunately, the wings were soft enough to stick to his body. As long as he didn't lift the cloak, he wouldn't be able to see the wings. Shang left the elven territory. There was a dense forest outside. Shang saw the students that the boy with the flat nose had mentioned. They were being chased by something and were running for their lives. Shang didn't want to enter the dungeon, so he decisively left with Jinglin. The forest was very big. The original owner had never gone out. Jinglin didn't say anything either. Shang could only fly around randomly. It wasn't easy for him to find a small town. There were many things that could fly in this world. There were orcs with wings and humans with various spiritual weapons. In short, it wasn't strange to see someone flying in the sky on a sword. However, there was a big guy covered by a black cloak on Sher Shang's sword. It was a bit eye-catching. Plus, she was coming from the forest, which was even more eye-catching. Many people suspected that she had brought the big guy out of the forest. They had been following Sher Shang ever since he entered the city. Sher Shang pulled his hat and sped up to the alley next to him. The footsteps behind him sped up. They followed him into the alley. Strange. Where is she? I saw her come in. She must be nearby. Let's split up and look for her. Looking for me? A clear voice sounded from above. Everyone looked up. A figure jumped down from above. They didn't even have time to see who it was before their bodies fell to the ground uncontrollably. Sher Shang clapped his hands. They must be tired of living. They even dared to target I. Why did you kill them? Jinglin seemed to be angry. They had already come to find her. If he didn't kill them, was he going to wait for her to be killed? Sher Shang took a deep breath. I wanted to. What can you do about it? Jinglin. How could there be such an elf in the elf race? I'm telling you, Jinglin. If you want to rely on me now, you'd better shut up. If you piss me off, I'll kill you too. Sher Shang turned to threaten Jinglin. He couldn't move now anyway. If he didn't threaten him now, when would he? This world was used for killing. There were many places where she had killed people. If he questioned her every time she killed someone, she would go crazy. They were just playing a game. Why did she have to explain why she killed NPCs? What else could it be? Of course, it was for the mission. Didn't she do it for an idiot like you? Jinglin. He was very sure that there was no such elf in the elf race. Sher Shang left that place and found an inn to rest. This continent used a type of spiritual stone as currency. Fortunately, Sher Shang was smart enough to rob the people who were following her. He wouldn't be chased out by the inn. Sher Shang heard a lot of information from the inn's waiter. The demons now occupied the western part of the Qingyun continent, while the female lead occupied the eastern part. In order to make it easier to distinguish, they were called the Qingyun East Continent and the Qingyun West Continent. The two sides built a large border in the middle. Humans couldn't go to the demon side, and demons couldn't go to the human side. There was an array on the border all year round. No one dared to cross it. It was said that they would be sucked into another space and never come back. Sher Shang was now in the Qingyun East Continent. The female lead led the human side. It was almost impossible to go to the demon side through the proper channels. The only way to go to the demon side was through the forest that Sher Shang came out of. Through the forest, they could reach the West Continent. Chapter 1752. The forest was vast and took up almost 2/3 of the entire continent. The humans and demons only took up 1/3 of the continent. The forest was full of danger. Almost no one could pass through it safely. It was a natural barrier from the East Continent to the West Continent. I heard there was a problem with the spell. Is that true? Those bastards from the demon race won't take the opportunity to attack, right? I don't know. There are all kinds of rumors. Nothing new. No. Sher Shang turned to look in the direction of the waiter. The waiter was currently refilling tea for someone. That person was probably a regular customer. The waiter said a few words to him. Sher Shang, who was standing close to him, heard everything. They were saying that something had crashed into the boundary array and caused a problem. The humans and demons had been recuperating for hundreds of years. It was inevitable that they would fight. This incident might be the trigger. Hundreds of years had passed. The script given by Buttface was useless. Sher Shang finished the last cup of tea and went back upstairs. Where did you go? Jinglin heaved a sigh of relief. There was no smell of blood on her. She probably didn't kill anyone. Are you worried about me? Shi Shang raised his eyebrows and looked at the ice sculpture she had placed on the ground. There were traces of ice on the ground and the air was cold. Who was worried about her? He was worried that she would go out and kill people. What did you find out? Guess. Jing Lin. If he could guess, why would he ask you? Shi Shang squatted in front of the ice sculpture and waved his fingertips on the ice. I think you're fine here. Why don't I find a way to let you out when you fall in love with me? According to his current character, if she really let him out, he would definitely run away. At least he wouldn't run away. She wouldn't have to find a way to catch him. Jing Lin. What was going on? Why would he fall in love with her? What do you mean? What did he mean by she would find a way to let him out when he fell in love with her? If he didn't fall in love with her, would she let him stay here for the rest of his life? If it wasn't for her aura, he would have suspected that she wasn't the little elf he had brought back. Literally. You don't understand? Shi Shang had an innocent look on her face. Why should I like you? Because I like you. Jing Lin heaved a sigh of relief and slowly said, I'm your guide spirit. It's normal for you to feel a sense of familiarity with me, but this isn't love. Do you understand? Every newborn sprite would have a guide sprite. As for who the guide sprite was, the Tree of Life would give a hint and let the guide sprite go to the Tree of Life. He had gone to the Tree of Life because he had received a hint from the Tree of Life. The guide elves were only responsible for bringing the newborn elves back to the elves. They had no obligation to take care of the newborn elves. However, because the guide elves were the first elves the newborn elves saw, coupled with the shackles of the Tree of Life, the newborn elves would develop a sense of familiarity and dependence with the guide elves. Most guide elves would treat the newborn elves as their personal teachers. However, Shi Shang had very important things to do and didn't have time to teach a newborn elf. Thus, after bringing her back to the elves, he had never seen her again. He only occasionally heard the elders mention how strange the elf he brought back was. Shi Shang cupped his face and looked at the black shadow in the ice sculpture. I know what love is. I don't need you to teach me. Jing Lin. No matter what Jing Lin said, Shi Shang either didn't listen or threatened him to shut up. Otherwise, he would go out and kill people. Jing Lin quieted down a lot, and Shi Shang learned a new skill. Mourning for the Elf King. If other people's wives found that their partners were so sullen, they would want to get them out as soon as possible. However, she actually shamelessly threatened them. She wanted them to come out if they liked them first. If they didn't like them, they shouldn't come out. Was this really her biological partner? She must have picked him up. The Elf King who was picked up was also very confused. He said that he would come out and help him break the ice. Why was he being threatened in the end? Shi Shang returned to the forest again and headed to the western continent. The eastern and western continents were close to the forest. It was a bit like a T, and the forest was behind it. The eastern and western continents were separated. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be difficult to go around the border from the forest and reach the other side. However, the place where the T met was a very strange abyss. The forest and the continent here weren't connected at all. Above the abyss, anything that went up would fall down. If one wanted to go over, they had to go through the forest. The environment in that part of the forest was especially bad. There were all kinds of strange plants and magical beasts. It was simply a fool's dream to want to go over. Shi Shang was now near the abyss. He could already see the outline of the abyss. The crack in the middle was like the open mouth of a vicious beast, waiting for its prey to come. Don't go over. Jing Lin hadn't spoken to Shi Shang in a long time. He suddenly spoke at this time. Why? That place is a cursed hell. Any living thing will be pulled into hell. Jing Lin said, they built the border here to prevent people from going through the forest. Then I'll go around it. If one path didn't work, there was another. All roads led to Rome. She knew that there was something wrong with the abyss. Why did she have to go over it? Jing Lin. Why did this reaction feel so strange? Shi Shang really did let the iron sword go around the abyss. The detour was much longer. This crack was a little scary. At night, Sher Shang stopped to rest. He took off his cloak, made a fire, and sat beside the ice sculpture. The fire danced on the ice sculpture like a mirror. "Can you put me away?" Jing Lin was a little uncomfortable. Too troublesome. Sher Shang was dissatisfied, but he still threw his cloak on the ice sculpture to cover it. "You're an elf, but you're afraid of light. How did you survive?" Elves were a species that yearned for light and peace, but this one was afraid of light. Feng Xi's illness was becoming more and more strange. Jing Lin didn't answer Sher Shang. He fell into dead silence. Sher Shang glanced at him a few times and didn't say anything. He looked at the fire in a daze. Rumble. In the middle of the night, the ground suddenly shook. The entire forest seemed to be about to be overturned. Sher Shang jumped up from the ground and quickly put Jing Lin on the iron sword. She stepped on the iron sword and rose into the air. Looking down from the sky, the dark forest rippled like the waves of the sea. The abyss was emitting a strange black aura. Many black shadows gathered above the abyss. They seemed to want to come out, but there was a strange power above the abyss that prevented them from rushing out. The weakest part was the border on the other side. Those things were concentrating their attacks on the border. This was probably why those people said that the border was destroyed. But what were those things? It wasn't written in the plot. What was there to write? 100 years had passed. Chapter 1753. You can't go over there. Jing Lin stopped Sher Shang with a serious tone. If you still think of me as the King of Elves, then listen to me and leave this place. King of Elves? King of Elves by myself? Sher Shang didn't care and continued to move the iron sword closer to the abyss. The entire elven race had been frozen. Who was he supposed to be the King of Elves? Jing Lin was furious. You're courting death. Sher Shang wasn't afraid at all. Anyway, I have you with me. I'm not afraid. Jing Lin. Seeing that the abyss was getting closer and closer, it was too late for Jing Lin to stop him. This lunatic. Pervert. Sher Shang stopped at the edge of the abyss and yelled at the black figures that were tangled together. Hey! The black shadows looked over in unison. Then, as if they had seen delicious food, they swarmed over crazily. The last bit of light in front of Sher Shang was covered by the black shadows. It was pitch black. The roars were incessant. Her eardrums were about to burst. Be quiet, you guys. Sher Shang jumped to the ground and shook Jing Lin off her. Jing Lin rolled into the bushes to the side. Jing Lin. He was the King of Elves. How dare he? Elves? A voice came from the black figure. It sounded very disdainful. You think you can stop us? When did I say I wanted to stop you? Sher Shang's tone was strange. He was just greeting them. You're not going to stop us? Then are you here to be our food? You're not even enough to fill the gaps between our teeth. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. The laughter seemed to be contagious. All the black figures started to laugh. Sher Shang wasn't in a hurry. He held his sword with one hand and calmly waited for them to finish laughing. I was a person of status. Bah, an elf. I couldn't be calculative with this bunch of idiots. I had to maintain my status. The black figures probably realized that Sher Shang wasn't moved. Their laughter gradually died down. Little guy, if you want to be our food, then jump down. We'll satisfy you. Sher Shang raised his chin slightly and said arrogantly, I can let you out, but you have to promise me one thing. All the black figures. Just by her? Those small arms and legs? Even with their combined strength, they couldn't break the thing that was imprisoning them. How could she let them out? He laughed until his teeth fell out. Little guy, you've come to the wrong place to brag. Seeing that you're so cute, I'll let you go today. Hurry up and go home. The black shadows turned around and left, preparing to continue crashing into the border. Sher Shang swung her sword towards the abyss. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the air above the abyss. A chilly wind blew in, causing the shadows to stop in their tracks. In the next second, they all rushed towards the crack. However, by the time the first black shadow reached the gap had already closed automatically. The group of black shadows crashed into the transparent barrier and fell down with a whoosh. It was as if someone had sprinkled a pot of ink from the sky. The group of thick ink rose up again. They seemed to be dizzy and disoriented. It took them a while to find the Shi Sheng. "What do you think? I didn't lie to you, did I?" Shi Sheng said arrogantly. "One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. What do you want us to do?" A black shadow appeared and landed at the same level as Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng smiled with squinted eyes. "It's not a big deal. Just make this continent lively." The black shadow's tone became strange. "How lively?" "Kill and burn as you please. The more chaotic, the better." "Shi Wei." An exasperated voice came from the grass behind them. The black shadow seemed to be looking in that direction. However, seeing that Shi Sheng didn't respond, he didn't pay attention to that direction. "What's in it for you? Chaotic times are where I belong." Of course, it was to find trouble for the female lead. She was now the leader of the human race. She was just a small fry. If she went to seek revenge on the female lead, what kind of joke was that? She would be beaten to death by the female lead supporters before she even went up, all right? As a cannon fodder, she had to know her place. According to my many years of experience as a vase, the host probably felt that it was too troublesome for her to go to the female lead. Or perhaps she felt that it was too degrading for her to go to the female lead. Therefore, she would rather make a big deal out of it and let the female lead jump out herself. "But face, do you have nothing better to do?" "Offline. Offline. It didn't say anything just now." "You're an elf." Who told him that elves were a peace-loving race? Who told him that elves were innocent and kind? How was this elf in front of him innocent and kind? His entire body, from his toes to his hair, exuded the word evil. He might have met a fake elf. "Do you know what we are?" Shi Sheng tilted his head. "I don't know. What are you?" The black shadow. She didn't know what they were, but she dared to let them out. This elf was very powerful. He was convinced. "I promise you." The black shadow didn't answer Shi Sheng's question. Instead, he changed the topic. Anyway, they would definitely be in a bloodbath when they went out to the continent. Her condition wasn't a condition at all. In fact, they were the ones who profited. "Shi Wei, you can't let them out." Jing Lin's voice had changed from exasperated to furious. Shi Sheng continued to ignore him. He waved at the black shadows. "Back off." The black shadows were faintly excited. They were going to come out. They were finally going to come out. Shi Sheng took a few steps back. He raised his hand and swung his iron sword. It wasn't an exaggerated move. He simply raised his hand and swung it down. The cold light emitted from the iron sword swept through the surrounding darkness. An invisible airflow surged past her. It twisted into several streams and rushed into the sky above the abyss. "Stop!" This angry roar was much sharper. It obviously didn't come from Jing Lin. Shi Sheng looked across the abyss. It was too far away. He couldn't see anyone, but he could see that the flames were moving closer and closer to the edge of the abyss. That voice was probably amplified by spiritual power, which was why it was able to reach this place. Shi Sheng's fluttering cape had stopped. At the same time, a few cracks appeared on the barrier above the abyss. Countless black shadows rushed out from the cracks and roared in the sky. The black shadows dispersed and gradually condensed into shapes. They were huge and strange beasts. They galloped in the air and then rushed toward the flames. Screams and sounds of fighting rang out at the same time. The fire spread out from the forest. The black shadows shuttled back and forth in the flames. It was a shocking scene. A black shadow landed in front of Shi Sheng. He still didn't condense into a physical body. He was still a ball of darkness. "Little guy, Is the one behind you also an elf? The Elf King. It was the frozen Elf King. The Elf King? The Black Shadow seemed to be surprised that the Elf King had been reduced to such a state. However, he didn't have the right to laugh at others when he thought about their previous encounters. I saw the way he was sealed. It's a bit like the He family. If you want to help him break the ice, you can go to the He family. I don't know if those guys are still there after so many years. The Black Shadow muttered. He rose into the air. Little guy, we'll meet again if fate wills it. The Black Shadow raised his head and hissed. His voice sounded a bit like a dragon. As he hissed, the black shadows gradually gathered toward him. The whole sky was dark. They left in one direction. From afar, they looked like a huge dark cloud. #hashtag today's Fluke Votes hashtag at the beginning of the month. At the beginning of the month. Chapter 1754. Shi Shang squatted down in front of Jing Lin, who was buried in the grass. See, it's a blessing in disguise. You know where to find someone to unseal you. You. Jing Lin was so angry that he couldn't speak. The things she released just now were obviously not good things, but she could still laugh. Jing Lin felt like he was about to explode. He took a few deep breaths. I don't need you to care about me. You can leave. Even if she was his only clansman, he couldn't stay with this kind of elf. They had different ideas, and he didn't approve of many of her actions. He couldn't do anything to her now, so he could only ask her to leave quickly. He didn't want to see her again. Chase me away? Shi Shang was surprised. Are you sure? Yes. He didn't want to see her at all. Jing Lin saw the girl's expression change. It was a little gloomy and a little strange. The next second, she suddenly laughed. Why should I listen to you? Do you still think you're the Elf King? Jing Lin. He was the Elf King. What was the problem? Shi Shang put Jing Lin back on the iron sword and said with a smile, I brought you out, so of course I have to be responsible for you. I can't be an irresponsible elf, right? You don't have to be responsible. Jing Lin gritted his teeth. Since he couldn't stop her, what the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over. How can that be? I'm not that kind of irresponsible person. I don't want you to be responsible. Jing Lin emphasized. I want to. Hit me. Jing Lin. Don't let him out. Shi Shang took Jing Lin out of the forest. She found that the people opposite her were also moving at the same speed as her. They were obviously chasing after her. Although the things in the abyss were gone, the restriction above the abyss was still there. Those people didn't dare to come over the abyss, so they could only chase after her. They were already halfway through the abyss. If they went any further, they would be in the demon's territory. Shi Shang scuttled into the forest and stopped after blocking those people's view. After those people lost their target, they stayed in place for a while before returning to the depths of the forest. The things released by the Shi Shang soon caused a bloodbath in the Qingyun continent. The first to suffer were the major sections. It was said that these people died very miserably and the scene was very bloody. They didn't care who was from the human race and who was from the devil race. As long as they met, they would treat them the same, without prejudice. They were very fair and just. The border between the demon race and the human race was broken because of them. The Azure Cloud continent was divided into two 100 years ago, and now it has merged into one again. The border has disappeared, and the demon race and the human race will naturally fight. The entire continent was in chaos. It was said that the human race's commander, Feng Zi, had already gone to the demon race to discuss a temporary truce with the demon race's commander to jointly deal with those things that had escaped from the abyss. The system was in despair. Why was the plot developing in such a strange way? It was one thing for the big bosses to randomly change the plot, but its host was even manually changing the plot. Did they want to see who would collapse faster? It was just a small system. Please let it go. The main culprit of this incident had also arrived at the city where the demon race was located. This city was full of the demon race's style of doing things, arrogant and despotic, bullying others. Shi Shang wrapped herself in a cloak and entered the city. Jing Lin was placed in a carriage by her. The city was bustling with activity. There were both demons and beasts. Perhaps because of the recent incident, the people in the city were a little wary of those who entered the city. Big brother, may I ask how to get to the He clan? Shi Shang grabbed a beast man. The beast man seemed to be easy to talk to. He didn't care about Shi Shang's impolite behavior. He looked strangely at Shi Shang, who only revealed her beautiful face. The He clan? Which He clan? Shi Shang smiled. How many He clans are there in this city? The beast man narrowed his eyes. You're looking for the commander? Shi Shang thought for a moment. Maybe. That black shadow only told her that the He clan might be behind this, but it didn't tell her what the He clan did. However, if they could do something so awesome, the commander of the demon race seemed to be more suitable. The beast man, what did she mean by maybe? Do you know where it is? Shi Shang saw that the beast man didn't reply and asked again. The beast man pointed in a certain direction. Over there. Do you see that tall building? Keep following it and you'll reach the commander's residence. The commander's residence was heavily guarded. Even if he told her, it wouldn't matter. Thus, the beast man didn't hesitate to point the way to Shi Shang. Shi Shang followed the direction the beast man pointed and quickly arrived at the He clan. At this moment, there was a group of people in front of the entrance. Everyone was dressed neatly and looked solemn. They stood on both sides of the red carpet as if they were welcoming her. Did they know that I was coming? Shi Shang pulled off her cloak and led the carriage forward. However, before she could walk on the red carpet, she was stopped by someone. What are you doing? This is the commander's residence. You can't come and go as you please. Hurry up and leave. Shi Shang. You're not welcoming I. Commander Feng is here. A loud shout sounded from behind. The person who stopped Shi Shang immediately chased her to the side. Don't block the way. Hurry up and move aside. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. How do you want to be impolite? Shi Shang didn't move. I want to see your commander. The other party looked her up and down a few times with a mocking expression. Little girl, you're beautiful, but our commander doesn't like little girls like you who haven't even grown hair yet. Our commander likes mature and charming girls. Hurry up and leave. Don't block the way. You'll get it later. Shi Shang. What the hell? Who cares what your commander likes? It has nothing to do with me. Do you think I'm here to sell myself to your commander? Shi Shang pursed his lips and said expressionlessly, Oh, your commander likes old women. How dare you? A beast man quickly walked out from the entrance and glared at Shi Shang. How dare you talk about our commander like that? Are you tired of living? Be reasonable. I didn't say it. He said it. Shi Shang pointed at the guard who spoke just now. The guard was dumbfounded. When did he say it? Don't spout nonsense. The beast man looked at the guard. His sharp gaze was like a knife scraping the guard's body. The guard trembled and shook his head. I didn't say it. She said it. I didn't say it. The beastman's sharp gaze landed on Shi Shang again. Who is she? Why is she blocking the way? Commander Feng will be here soon. Hurry up and capture her. Yes, yes. The guard heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly ordered the other guards to capture Shi Shang. Shi Shang took a step back and leaned against the carriage. We're all here to visit your commander. Is it okay for you to treat us differently? The beast man snorted disdainfully. Who do you think you are to visit our commander? What are you waiting for? Capture her. Do you need me to teach you how to do it? Asterisk, this is a fake group. Jing Lin, why am I in the ice? Let me out. I'm going to teach that elf who kills people a lesson. Shi Shang, what did you say? Jing Lin, blinking innocently, did I say anything? Shi Shang, smiling, Jing Lin, swallowing hard, little fairy. If you let them vote, I'll let you out. Jing Lin, really? Little fairy, what do you think? Jing Lin, come, the little elves have voted. Chapter 1755. They were the ones who attacked first. Shi Shang shouted at the carriage. He immediately took out his iron sword and blocked the spear in the guard's hand. Then, he kicked the guard in the abdomen. The guard's figure retreated. The guards who rushed up behind him were implicated by him and also retreated a few steps. The guards felt that their dignity and strength were being challenged. They gripped their spears tightly and shouted as they charged at Shi Shang. Shi Shang didn't leave the carriage for even half a meter, but the guards didn't even manage to touch the corner of her clothes. Instead, the guards started to fall to the ground one by one. The beastman's dangerous gaze caught sight of the carriage behind Shi Shang. He leapt down the steps and formed a claw with his fingers, grabbing towards the carriage. Shi Shang kicked away the last guard. His iron sword fell to the ground with a whoosh. The tip of the sword easily pierced into the ground. She put one hand on her waist and the other on the sword. She tilted her head and watched the beast-man's actions. The beast-man's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling. However, his fingers were already about to touch the carriage. It was too late to stop now. The numbness instantly spread from his fingers to his arm. He felt that he had bumped into something. His body flew back uncontrollably and landed heavily on the steps. The beast man felt that his arm didn't belong to him anymore. He stared at the girl standing there with wide eyes. He was very depressed. That carriage had a restriction spell. Why were you so nervous? If it wasn't for her protecting the carriage, he wouldn't have attacked it. The beast man looked at the guards on the ground and felt even more depressed. Who was this girl? Why did she have to come at this time? What happened? A clear female voice sounded from behind him. Shi Shang turned to look. Several carriages pulled by Pegasi were slowly advancing. Just looking at them made them seem a lot more impressive. In the carriage at the very front, a beautiful woman was using her white hand to lift the curtain, and her eyes were cold as she looked over. Graceful. Commander Feng, you've come from afar. Excuse me for not going out to meet you. A rough voice sounded from the commander's residence. A tall man appeared at the entrance, surrounded by a group of people. When he saw the scene at the door, he couldn't help but frown. What was going on? The orc hurriedly got up from the ground and walked to the man's side to whisper a few words. The man's gaze turned to the Shi Shang, and his frown deepened. Is this person here to pick a fight? I wouldn't dare to trouble Commander He. Feng Zi came down from the carriage and nodded at Commander He. Two men came down from the carriage behind. They were both extremely beautiful, but their personalities were as different as heaven and earth. One of them was dressed in white and was as cold as an immortal. In his eyes, there seemed to be only Feng Zi. The other was dressed in red and flirtatious. He had a slight smile on his face, but his eyes were full of light. He moved closer to Feng Zi and spoke. The two of them had an ambiguous posture. As the man spoke, Feng Zi's gaze fell on Shi Shang. Shi Shang happened to look sideways, revealing his face. That face made Feng Zi freeze on the spot. How could it be him? She should be dead. They probably just looked alike. Feng Zi comforted herself in the bottom of her heart. She had seen him die with her own eyes. He couldn't be alive. It must be a coincidence. They just looked alike. It must be like that. Shi Shang pulled down the hat on his head and brushed his bangs. He greeted the person opposite him in a light tone. Long time no see, Feng Zi. It's him. It's really him. He's not dead yet. You two know each other? Commander, he was worried about how to deal with this situation. When he suddenly heard this, he immediately asked. Of course we know each other. I have a deep impression of you. Shi Shang chuckled. After all, he's the person who wanted my life. If I don't remember clearly, who else can I find to take revenge on? Right, Commander Feng? Feng Zi clenched her hands and pursed her lips. She didn't say anything. An imperceptible dark light flashed in the depths of her eyes. Commander He was a little confused. What's going on? Feng Zi took a deep breath and looked at Commander He. Commander He, do you want me to talk to you here? Commander He's gaze swept over Shi Shang and Feng Zi. Commander Feng, please come in. Feng Zi led people into the commander's manor. Her back was tense the whole time, afraid that Shi Shang would suddenly attack. However, the people behind her just watched and didn't have any intention of attacking. It wasn't until they entered the commander's manor that Feng Zi's expression changed slightly. Little Feng, who is she? The man in red came to Feng Zi's side and asked curiously. Feng Zi glanced at the man in white. Jean. The man reached out and patted Feng Zi's head, silently comforting her. What's going on? The man in red looked at the man in white and then at Feng Zi. Little Feng, are you hiding something from me? Feng Zi took a deep breath. Nothing. Then why did she say that she has a grudge against you? The man in red didn't give up. Little Feng, don't be afraid. Tell me, did she bully you? I'll help you teach her a lesson. It's nothing. Don't act recklessly. Feng Zi grabbed the man's hand. This time, we're here for official business. Even Jean knows. Why don't you tell me? Little Feng, do you not love me anymore? The man in red pretended to be angry. Jean glanced at him. The man in red instantly felt short of breath. He hated this Jean the most. Not only did he monopolize little Feng, he also used his gaze to threaten people. The most despicable thing was that he was actually afraid of him. Outside the commander's manor, Shi Shang leaned against the carriage and looked at the gloomy Commander He. Little girl, why did you come to my commander's manor to cause trouble? This little girl could even defeat the people around him. Her strength couldn't be underestimated. In this world, don't underestimate anyone. I want to ask you something. Do you need to attack my people to ask me something? Commander He, be reasonable. I already said that I'm here for a visit. They attacked me first. I was just defending myself. Don't push all the blame onto me. I refuse to be the scapegoat. Commander He frowned. He pondered for a moment. Today, I have something to discuss with Commander Feng. If you have something to say, we can discuss it another day. Of course, you can stay in my commander's manor temporarily. What do you think? I don't have that much time. Shi Shang lifted the curtain. I just want to ask you one question. Did you do this? There was an ice sculpture half the height of a person in the carriage. There was a black shadow inside. From the shape, it looked a little like a human. A trace of surprise flashed past Commander He's eyes. However, he quickly regained his composure. Miss you. Shi Shang lowered the curtain and pulled out the iron sword from the ground. He pointed it at Commander He. Think carefully before you speak. Commander He. It had been a long time since someone dared to point a sword at him. This little girl was really bold. Not only did she hit him, but she was also arrogant. This little girl exuded arrogance from head to toe. However, this arrogance was directly proportional to her aura. She didn't have the arrogance of someone who bullied others. Commander He was silent for a moment. I didn't do this. Shi Shang narrowed his eyes. Then do you know who did it? I'm sorry, Mississippi. I don't know. Commander He shook his head. Now that I've asked you about your matter, can you leave now? Chapter 1756. Shi Shang's lips tugged up to reveal an evil smile. Before Commander He could understand what that smile meant, her figure flashed and her sword was already pressed against his neck. The surrounding guards were all shocked. How could she be so fast? Commander He, do you know who did this? I advise you to tell me. Shi Shang's tone was gentle and threatening. Don't move. My sword is very fast. If you're not careful, your commander's neck will be separated from his head. Commander he felt it the most clearly. As a commander, he was naturally the strongest. But at this moment, other than feeling cold all over, he actually didn't dare to move. It wasn't because of the girl who kidnapped him, but because of the sword on his neck. He reached out to stop the others and calmed himself down. Miss, I really don't know. Shi Shang pressed the iron sword down. The blade had already cut Commander He's neck. Blood soaked the iron sword and flowed along the ancient patterns. The red light in the center of the sword gradually lit up. Commander He seemed to hear the sound of his blood flowing. Commander He clenched his teeth. It's the He clan. That's the He clan's technique. Aren't you? Commander He immediately understood that she had found the wrong person. His surname was He, but he wasn't that He. Commander He hurriedly said, the crane from the red-crowned crane. Shi Shang raised his eyebrows. No wonder when she asked for directions, the beast man asked her which He clan she was looking for. It turned out that there were 2 He clans. Where is the He clan? East of the city, go straight out of the city. There's a red-crowned crane mountain. The He clan's people all live on that mountain. Shi Shang withdrew his sword. Why did you have to suffer like this if you said so earlier? Commander He covered his neck to stop the bleeding. Who knew that she had found the wrong person? And the He clan. Shi Shang jumped onto the carriage and urged the horse to turn around and head to the east of the city. Commander He looked at the carriage with a gloomy expression. Where did this little girl come from? That's right, Commander He. The little girl in the carriage suddenly turned around. I advise you not to cooperate with Feng Zi. Why? Because I won't let her go. Anyone who associates with her is my enemy. Shi Shang said this with a smile, but Commander He only felt a chill in his heart. He didn't know why, but he felt a bit of fear in his heart. Commander He watched as the carriage left. Commander, your injuries? It's just a superficial wound. She didn't use any strength, Commander He said in a low voice. He did not doubt the sharpness of the sword at all. If she exerted a little force, his neck would be separated from his body. Do you want me to send someone to investigate that woman's background? The orc asked carefully. The commander had suffered such a big loss today, so he would probably take revenge, right? Calm Feng Zi down. Don't talk to her for now. Commander? The orc didn't understand. Right now, the entire continent was in chaos. Hadn't the matter of cooperation been discussed and decided beforehand? Why weren't they discussing it now? Send someone to keep an eye on Immortal Crane Mountain. See if she can walk out of there alive. Commander, you wouldn't really believe her words, right? She did have some ability, but it wasn't enough to make their commander's manner afraid, right? Commander He looked towards the east of the city and said in a low voice, if she can walk out of Immortal Crane Mountain alive, her words will be trustworthy. The orc also looked over. That place. Subordinate understands. The reason why Immortal Crane Mountain was called Immortal Crane Mountain was firstly because this mountain looked like an immortal crane spreading its wings. Secondly, it was because the person who lived on Immortal Crane Mountain was surnamed He. The entire Immortal Crane Mountain was covered with all kinds of formations and restrictions. Those who weren't from the He clan couldn't enter at all. Even if they entered, they wouldn't be able to come out. Today was the He clan's mid-year summary meeting. All the He clan's disciples were gathered in the huge plaza. The He clan's elders were talking about the performance of the various disciples in the past half a year. The young disciples below were whispering to each other. They weren't very interested in the long speech above. This time, it's third senior brother who took the lead again. Ah, I'm so jealous. What's the use of being jealous? Third senior brother is the most promising candidate to become the clan head. Isn't it normal for him to be so powerful? That's true, but I still feel that the clan head is a little biased. Eldest senior brother is clearly his biological son. Why is he so biased towards third senior brother? He even wants to pass the position of clan head to third senior brother. Are you courting death? You dare to say such nonsense? It's not like you don't know that eldest senior brother's body isn't good. How is he going to support the entire He clan? Third senior brother is the best candidate. That's still biased. Back then. Bang. Bang, bang, bang. Intense explosions rang out from the mountain peak. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the mountain peak. Countless lightning flashed on the mountain peak. What happened? Why is there lightning on the mountain peak? What's the situation? Is there someone on the mountain peak? There aren't any thunderclouds in the sky. Why is there lightning? Rumble. There were huge rocks on the mountain peak that couldn't withstand the explosion. They broke off from the edge and slid down towards the plaza below. A slight move in one part would affect the whole situation. With this roll, the surrounding rocks were also affected. Countless rocks fell from the top. Only then did the people on the plaza react. One after another, they ran out of the plaza. The elders immediately flew up and stepped on the falling rocks in the air. They continuously ascended to the top of the mountain peak. The mountain peak was full of big pits. Those lightning flashed in the big pits. The array set up on the mountain peak was all destroyed. The elders quickly looked around. They saw a figure standing on a rock next to the big pit. She was wrapped in a black cloak. The cloak was embroidered with silver-white dark patterns. Under the illumination of the lightning, it was sparkling. And behind her was an iron sword. There was something on the iron sword that was covered by the same black cloak. "Who are you?" a certain elder roared. Shang jumped down from the rock and pulled off the hat on her head. Her lips curled into a smile. Her clear voice spread across the mountain peak. "Your ancestor, little girl?" Shang looked like a 16 or 17-year-old girl at this time. Coupled with the unique white skin and beautiful appearance of the elf clan, she looked even younger. So the large group of people opposite her was quite frightened. Why did it feel a little surreal for such a little girl to barge into their He clan? Impudent. Do you know where this is? After a while, an elder finally reacted. His face was ashen as he scolded her. "If you don't know why I'm here? A spring outing? You're in the wilderness. Even if it's a spring outing, there's nothing to do here." Shang rolled her eyes. A bunch of idiots. The elders choked. One of them wanted to say something, but was stopped by another elder. "Your Excellency, you've barged into our He clan. What do you want?" The array on the mountain was completely destroyed. Such a person, even if she was a little girl, couldn't be underestimated. "Find the person in charge." Shang's tone was arrogant. The elders, they had lived for so long and had never seen someone so arrogant in the He clan. It was true that newborn calves were not afraid of tigers. "We're the people in charge." Shang pointed at her own nose with her index finger. "Do you think I'm stupid? You're all wearing the same clothes. It's obvious that you're in the same position. I want to see your patriarch." The elders, "Could you be any more arrogant? Is the patriarch someone you can see just because you want to?" Chapter 1757. Shang used unorthodox means to force family head He to appear. The entire back mountain was on the verge of exploding. The elders were all scared out of their wits. Was this even a human? Family head He looked at the girl in front of him and looked up and down. After a while he said with a sigh, "I didn't expect the elves to still be alive." Elves? As soon as he said this, the people behind him exploded. The elves were extinct 100 years ago. How could they appear here? Are you disappointed? Shang raised an eyebrow. "Not really." Family head he said, "I know what you want to ask. Back then, the elves were indeed killed by our He family, but we were just doing things for others. If you want to take revenge, you can't find us." Doing things for others? For whom? At that time, there was an intruder who killed the elves. They thought it was because of the female lead, Feng Zi, but now it seemed that there was another reason. "I'm sorry. The He family has its rules. I can't tell you who it is." Family head he was so cooperative. Shi Shang glanced at him and didn't ask further. She reached out and pulled the corner of the cloak on the ice sculpture to let the people opposite her see it. Since it was your He family who did it, then you should be able to solve it, right? Family head He's expression changed slightly, as if there was something he couldn't say. His Adam's apple rolled twice. We can't solve it. The elders behind him also had a bad look on their faces. Shi Shang put down the corner of the cloak. Why? Family head he didn't seem to want to say. Shi Shang raised the iron sword in his hand and inserted it to the side. The stones on the edge continued to fall down. The girl said arrogantly, I won't ask you who killed the elves, but if you don't even tell me this, then your He family will be buried with him. There was no threat in her tone, but it was so calm that it made people feel like she was threatening them. It wasn't a threat, but it was more like a threat. Don't go too far. Our He family is not afraid of you. You destroyed the entire elven race. Do you think you can be our opponent? The elders were not convinced and stood up to reprimand Shi Shang. The He family did not need to speak to others in such a humble manner, let alone the elf clan who had been frozen by them. Shi Shang lifted his eyelids, and the iron sword suddenly turned. The cold light swept across the surroundings and converged on the elders. The head of the He family took a deep breath and interrupted Shi Shang. Because the person who did this has lost all ability. Although the ice seal of the He family comes from the same source, the method is different. Everyone has their own method. If we break the seal rashly, both sides will suffer. We can't break it. Shi Shang turned the iron sword back. Is there no other way? Family head he shook his head. The one who started the trouble should be the one who started it. The ice sealing technique was the epitome of this saying. Whoever cast the technique would be the one who unraveled it. Who was the one who did this? Let him say it. If you say it can't be solved, then it can't be solved. Who knows if you're lying to I? The head of the He family slightly narrowed his eyes and ordered the elders beside him. Go and bring the young master up. The elders were indignant, but they still went down to invite the so-called young master. Under the twilight, a thin young man came up from the rugged mountain path. His white hair was draped over his shoulders, and the last rays of the setting sun coated it with warm light. The young man lowered his head and walked weakly, as if a gust of wind could blow him away. He went to the head of the He family, folded his arms, and bowed. Father. The head of the He family grunted. This girl has something to ask you. Please answer truthfully. Yes, Father. The young man still lowered his head, as if he was waiting for Shi Shang's question. He did not seem to be interested in what was happening in front of him. He just came to answer the question at the request of the head of the He family. I want you to break his ice seal. Shi Shang completely lifted his cloak. At this time, the sky was completely dark, and there was no light. The young man slightly raised his head. He had a calm expression, but the moment he saw Jing Lin, he was shocked and remorseful. He took a step back, and then fell into the gravel in a very embarrassing situation. One of the elders wanted to help him up, but after seeing the face of the head of the He family, he retracted his hand. The young man's face was pale, and his white hair was scattered around, like a scary ghost in the mountains. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The young man kept whispering these 3 words. Shi Shang frowned. I asked you, can you break his ice seal? The young man seemed to have gathered his courage to look at the ice seal. After a while he said, all the creatures sealed in ice will die. Even if I break the ice seal, it's useless. It's all my fault, my fault. He's still alive. Impossible. The young man suddenly shouted, and hatred burst out from his eyes. It was unknown who he hated. All the creatures sealed in ice will die. They will all die. What he said is true. The head of the He family said. No matter what kind of creature it is, as long as it can be sealed in ice, it will die. Hey, say something. Shi Shang used his iron sword to hit the ice sculpture. I'm not dead. Jing Lin, who had not spoken for a long time, cooperated with him. Everyone present was surprised, especially the young man. He stood up from the ground. How is it possible? How can he not be dead? It's impossible. However, whether they believed it or not, Jing Lin was not dead. Although he did not know why he was not dead. But this news was useless. The young man still said that he had no way to break the ice seal. All his abilities had disappeared after returning from the elf tribe. It was like a punishment. Someone said that the elf tribe is a race favored by the heavens. I caused the extinction of the entire elf tribe, so I was punished. The young man said intermittently, and his face was full of regret. I let down the elf tribe. It's all my fault. You only regret that you lost your abilities. Shi Sheng sneered. If this person did not lose his abilities, would he still be so regretful? No. It was all because he lost his abilities and his position in the family that he regretted. Host, you're too dark. Maybe he's sincerely remorseful? The system could not help but complain. She could not change her bad habit of looking at everyone with a dark heart. There were still good, and beautiful things in this world. Shi Sheng. Then believe it. I'm not stopping you. Anyway, I don't believe it. What other people think is their business. What she thinks is her business. Retarded host, you deserve to have no friends. I have Feng Ci. I don't want to talk anymore. Other people's race settings are like this. Other than themselves, no one else can break the ice. That's not right. If no one can break the ice, why did Jing Lin, this retarded person, trick I into looking for the elf crown? Shi Sheng turned to look at the ice sculpture. Jing Lin in the ice sculpture. He suddenly felt a bit cold. There are outsiders here. Calm down. Chapter 1758. Is there no other way? Shi Sheng continued to ask the He family. She didn't believe that there was only one way in this world. However, the truth told her that there was only one way. At least in the He family's knowledge, there was only one way. In the words of the He family's master, even if she blew up the entire red-crowned Crane Mountain, there was no other way. Not getting the information she wanted, Shi Sheng took Jing Lin and left red-crowned Crane Mountain. The He family didn't dare to stop them because their mountain had been blown up. Shi Sheng walked down the mountain. Jing Lin was carried by the iron sword and followed behind. Shi Sheng pulled the weeds on the side of the road and waved them in his hand. The girl's clear voice sounded around. You know who did it, right? What? Jing Lin asked in a strange tone. You know who did it to the elves, Shi Sheng repeated. The wind in the mountain seemed to have stopped. Shi Sheng stopped and waited for the answer. How do you know? Shi Sheng snorted and continued to walk down. If you didn't know, you would definitely ask the He family who did it, but you didn't. There are only two reasons why you didn't ask. The first is that you don't want to know, and the second is that you know. According to this setting, Jing Lin should be very responsible for the elves. He wouldn't let go of the information of who did it to the elves, unless he knew from the beginning. I know, Jing Lin said. But none of this has anything to do with you. It's better for you to leave me as soon as possible. Then why did you use me in the beginning? Shi Sheng suddenly turned around and approached the ice sculpture. Why did you want me to help you find the elf crown? That thing can't save you at all. Shi Sheng suddenly came so close that Jing Lin was shocked. Her heart seemed to be beating so fast that it was about to jump out. I didn't lie to you. The elf crown can revive the Tree of Life. The elves rely on the Tree of Life to live. As long as the Tree of Life comes back to life, all the elves will come back to life. Shi Sheng narrowed his eyes. Even if this reason makes sense, then tell me, how do we release the frozen elves? Right now, the spellcaster was already a cripple. She had asked the He family head, but they didn't even know why the spellcaster's ability disappeared, let alone help him recover. So this path was simply not feasible. There will be a way. Jing Lin's tone was firm. He would definitely find a way. Shi Sheng rolled his eyes and said bluntly, What can you do? You're still sealed in ice. Jing Lin. If you don't mention this, we can still be clansmen. Are you going to tell me who wants to kill the elves? It has nothing to do with you. I'm also an elf. How is it none of my business? If it weren't for the fact that you're Feng Ci, I wouldn't have bothered to meddle in other people's business. You're even fighting with I? Who knows? She didn't act like an elf at all. There were no elves like her in his tribe. Miss, please wait a moment. The white-haired youth chased after him. He kept looking back as if he was afraid that someone would catch up to him. Shi Shang stopped in his tracks and waited for him. The youth was already panting after running for such a long distance. He couldn't even say a complete sentence. After a while he said, I know a way to break the ice. You know? Why didn't you say so earlier? Shi Shang looked at the youth suspiciously. He was able to resist her threats just now. It seemed like her methods were a bit gentler. My father. The youth stammered. He was obviously very afraid of family head. He didn't continue and went straight to the point. Miss, do you know about the abyss in the forest? There's a kind of grass growing at the bottom of the abyss. That grass can melt the ice, but it has some side effects. Are you sending me to my death? Everyone knew that the abyss couldn't be entered. Plus, there were things that came out of the abyss on the continent. Who knew if there were other things in the abyss? Wasn't this sending her to her death? No. The youth shook his head and waved his hand. This method was recorded in a handwritten book of the He family. It was said that the abyss could still be entered at that time, and there were many strange flowers and herbs growing inside. Later, the abyss couldn't be entered anymore, so this method was forgotten. Why are you telling me this? The youth looked awkward. You were right. I only regretted it after I lost everything. I've been living in regret for so many years. I don't want to live like this anymore. Just take it as my last atonement. He bowed to Shi Shang and Jing Lin. Of course, I'm sorry for the harm I've caused you. But this matter has nothing to do with the He family. I hope you won't cause trouble for them. Even if you're not the mastermind, you're the ones who did it. It's reasonable to say that I should kill your entire family and bury them with the elves. The youth's face instantly turned pale. Shi Wei. Shi Shang squeezed out a smile at Jing Lin. Didn't I say that I should? I didn't do anything, did I? Jing Lin. Who knows what you'll think in the next second? The youth didn't know if Shi Shang was joking or telling the truth. He was so scared that his face turned pale. He gritted his teeth and described the appearance of the grass. Then, he ran away. This person was so timid. How could he dare to destroy the elves? Shi Shang didn't know that this person wasn't timid at all in the past. It was because of what happened later that he became like this. Will there really be retribution for attacking the elves? Shi Shang asked Jing Lin curiously. That's just a rumor. Jing Lin lowered his voice. He's like this now. It's probably because an elder put a curse on him. The elves know how to do that. Aren't you all as kind and innocent as white lotuses? Shi Shang was surprised. Jing Lin couldn't help but frown. The elves are naturally kind, but that doesn't mean they're easy to bully. Then how did you stop me from killing people? You killed the innocent. Jing Lin raised his voice. How am I killing the innocent? If they didn't have any evil intentions towards me, would I have killed them? Shi Shang decided to have a good talk with Jing Lin. Do I have to wait for them to capture me and torture me before I can kill them? I'm not stupid. Of course, I'll strike first. Some people don't deserve to die. Why couldn't she kill a bunch of NPCs? Even if she killed all the NPCs in this world, there were still NPCs in the next world waiting for her. What was there to be afraid of? Shi Shang said faintly, even if you let him go, he might not let you go. For example, the guy who ordered people to destroy the elves. Jing Lin fell silent. Perhaps Shi Shang had stepped on his minefield. Hey, say something. Jing Lin. King. Shi Shang called out a few times, but Jing Lin didn't respond. Shi Shang sighed. This person was so difficult to deal with. He wanted to change dimensions. Host, calm down. How could she calm down? He would pretend to be dead whenever he wanted to. That wasn't the problem. The problem was that he was in the ice. She couldn't do anything. What could she do? What could she do? Asterisk hashtag today, I'm asking for a stone-flavored vote hashtag 3 circles left, 3 circles right. Twist your butt, vote, and become bigger, whiter, and prettier. Chapter 1759. Shi Shang returned to the city with Jing Lin. When she entered the city, a group of people walked in front of her and whispered to each other. Then, they turned around and pointed at her. Their behavior was very strange. Crazy people. Shi Shang wanted to go around them and return to the inn, but the people in front of her were blocking her way. She could only fight her way through or fly over. Otherwise, she would not be able to get through. Shi Shang gathered her emotions and was about to fly into a rage. However, the group in front of her suddenly stopped and turned to look at her. Shi Shang. What are you doing? Did I offend you? Why are you looking at me like that? Scared. The people around them sensed that the atmosphere was not right and hurriedly retreated to make room for them. Someone walked out from the group and said with certainty, "You're the one who released those things in the abyss, right?" Shi Shang sized up the person and admitted frankly, "Yes. These people should be the group of people on the other side of the abyss." She did not know why the black shadows did not kill them all. Instead, they spared some of them. Why did you do that? Someone in the group scolded. Today's situation on the continent was caused by you. Those people who died were all caused by you. Doesn't your conscience feel uneasy? Guilty? Sorry, I don't have that. Shi Shang spread his hands and smiled faintly. As for why I did that, why should I tell you? Everyone, she's the one who released those things. She's the main culprit. Everyone, let's catch her together. Someone in the group shouted loudly to incite the onlookers. Some people did not know what was going on and were not willing to respond. The group immediately told the onlookers what happened in the abyss and described her as a heinous villain. It's her. She's the one who released those things that are harming the mainland. We were on the other side of the abyss and saw it with our own eyes. The onlookers also glared at Shi Shang angrily after listening to the group's explanation. Catch her. Catch her. Demonis, you've harmed the entire mainland. Today, I will get rid of you for the sake of the mainland. Shi Shang couldn't help but roll his eyes in his heart. These fools. Those people were obviously using them. If they dared to make a move, they would have done it the moment they discovered her, instead of inciting the crowd. They had seen it with their own eyes. She was able to split open the restrictions of the abyss. How could her strength be weak? Were the brains of these idiots filled with mud? When Commander he received news of a fight at the city gate, he was listening to a beastman report that Shi Shang had made it out of Red-Crowned Crane Mountain safely. Before he could finish his report, she sent another message. Commander. The orc was shocked. If those things were really released by her, what is her purpose? How would I know? Commander, he said snappily. This woman appeared out of nowhere, and her behavior was also baffling. Then, the orc hesitated and swallowed his saliva. Are we still cooperating with Commander Feng? Commander, he rubbed his forehead. Let me think about it. Commander, he had no idea how to deal with this matter at all. Should he do as she said and not work with Feng Zi, or should he work with Feng Zi? What was her purpose? Was she really the one who released those things? Commander, he was frustrated and couldn't think of anything. Commander, he couldn't make up his mind, and Feng Zi wasn't having a good time either. She kept pacing back and forth in the room. Ever since she became the commander of the human race, she hadn't been so anxious for a long time. Feng Zi turned to look at the man in white beside the bed. Rujin, back then, I was sure. that she was dead. How did she come back to life? She's a fairy. The man in white turned back slightly, his face still cold. The vitality of fairies comes from the tree of life. Ordinary strength can't kill them. But the tree of life has already withered. When I went to the fairy race, I saw a withered tree of life. Otherwise, I wouldn't have used that method to save you. Rugine, she's here to take revenge on me. Feng Zi reached out to support herself on the table, her face ugly. What happened back then is the thing I regret the most. But I had no choice in order to save you. Rugine, what should I do? The fairy race has already been frozen. Her strength alone is nothing to be afraid of. Rugine walked over from the window and hugged Feng Zi. Since what happened back then was caused by me, I will deal with it. Don't worry. With Feng Zi's current strength, there was basically no opponent on the continent. But when she faced that fairy, she felt terrified for no reason. It was an indescribable feeling. In short, it made her feel afraid. Don't worry. Rugine's cold voice was tinged with gentleness. After Shi Shang finished showing off, she swaggered into the city. Everyone in the city had probably heard of what she had done. Wherever she walked, there wasn't even a shadow. The originally bustling streets were deserted as if someone had robbed them. At the end of the street, a man in white stood tall and straight. A gentle breeze brushed past his clothes, brushing past his cold eyes. He was like the bright moon in the sky, incomparably holy. But this was only on the surface. In the previous plot, this person was a King Devil who killed without batting an eyelid. It was only after he followed the female lead that he restrained his temper. Shi Shang reached out and grabbed the iron sword that was still moving forward. The iron sword and the ice sculpture stopped steadily in front of her. What, you want to help Feng Zi kill me? Shi Shang spoke first. Rugine looked up, her eyes cold. But in the depths of her eyes, there was an undetectable murderous intent. You are the only one left in the fairy race. If you don't want the fairy race to be completely wiped out, then leave this place. Don't appear in front of her again. Rugine's tone was calm. She didn't use a threatening tone, but the threat was obvious. And if I don't leave? Shi Shang shot a provocative look at Rugine. What can you do to me? Then don't blame me for being impolite. Impolite? I'm so scared. Come on, let's fight. Shi Shang pulled out the iron sword and rushed over. Jing Lin fell to the ground with a thud. A dent appeared in the ground, and a gap appeared in his cloak. Ever since she knew that she couldn't break it, she treated him rudely. When he got out, he must teach her what respect was. The sound of fighting came from the opposite side of the street. Jing Lin looked over through the gap in his cloak. His heart didn't waver. He could now calmly accept her temper. Anyway, it was useless for him to say anything now. She wouldn't listen at all. Jing Lin sighed. He must have had 8 lifetimes of bad luck to meet such a fairy. Voila, the scene in the gap was blocked. Jing Lin was wondering why she came back so quickly, but the sound of fighting was still going on. His nerves suddenly tensed up. The thing in front of him seemed to bend over to touch him, but he heard a gasp, followed by Shi Shang's scolding. * Please vote. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.